Game 82, the season is over. The Toronto Raptors finished the season with 30 wins, just about a win shy of where they were expected to finish. And given the context of how they finished this season, given the context of the lineups that they played down the stretch, given how strongly they incentivized losing down the stretch, I think you have to be encouraged. I think you have to be encouraged by the fact that this team beat the spread nightly, almost every single night. They were better than expected throughout based on who was playing, based on who was out. This is a team that lost more dollars to injury than all but two teams in the league. And those two teams are really bad. Most of the teams that are this injured tend to be pretty bad. If you look at the Pelicans, you could look at the Toronto Raptors, you can definitely look at the Philadelphia 76ers. You need bodies to win in the NBA. Tonight, the Toronto Raptors decide perhaps injury prevention was a big reason why to rest not only Jakob Poeltl, but also RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley, all of whom were healthy, all of whom were available, but did not play. They also did not play Chris Boucher, in which would have been possibly his final game as a Toronto Raptor. And they also did not play the injured rookies, Jacoby Walter over Shamshe, and obviously did not play Grady Dick, who has been out for the season, and did not play Brandon Ingram. You know what I just mentioned? I mentioned a lot of rotation players. In fact, I mentioned a lot of high rotation players. Brandon Ingram would play starter level minutes on every single team in the playoffs. Can we agree on that? He didn't play a single game for you this year. Him playing or not playing makes a big difference. He alone boosts your win total by about 4 wins if he plays. There you're at 34 wins. You only had him for half the season. I'm just saying, if he'd played, and he was certainly capable of playing. I think tonight you play a guy like AJ Lawson, Colin Castleton, Garrett Temple goes out with a very scary knee injury, which was later upgraded to a knee sprain. It looked worse. It looked way worse. The way he went down, we'll take a look at that in the film breakdown. But man, a lot of encouraging signs in today's game. Number one, your undrafted rookie, Jamison Battle, a 23-year-old afterthought out of the Ohio State, shout out Lane. He couldn't miss. Couldn't miss. You got him for nothing. You got him for nothing. He came into camp as a total afterthought. I didn't make any special video about him. I don't remember making any grand proclamations about him. He won me over big time. Big time. He was awesome all year. Hit his 100th three tonight, hit his 101st three, 102nd three, 103rd three, and 104th three, 105th three. He hit 7 of 15 from three tonight. He was mighty impressive. You know who else was impressive? A guy who's been impressive all year, and a guy who probably should and would, under normal circumstances, get some serious all rookie second team votes, and that's Jamal Shead. Steadied the ship tonight, 4 for 12 from the field, 11 points, 9 assists. He was pretty impressive. You know who else was impressive tonight? Playing small ball center, Jonathan Mogbo. 9 points, 14 rebounds, including 4 offensive rebounds and 10 assists to go along with 4 steals. He was a +4. He was the only starter who was plus in terms of plus minus. In fact, he was the only Raptor who was plus minus and a positive plus minus. And basically, you lost all the minutes with Castleton and you won all the minutes with Mogbo. So there's your little trade off there. Colin Castleton did play. He played 29 minutes for the Raptors, maybe taking a good look at him for the camp deal next year. I do not know the exact details of his contract, but I do believe that it is not guaranteed. Also, Ohio State. No, it's the Ohio State. I don't know what you mean by that. It's weird that I haven't mentioned Scottie Barnes. Talked a lot about Scottie Barnes yesterday. Kind of sick and tired of the conversation around Scottie Barnes, quite frankly. And most of the people that I'm really sick of, honestly, are Raptor fans. I'm sick of y'all. I'm sick of y'all downplaying how good this guy is. I'm sick of y'all losing your minds over one season. I'm sick of y'all using shooting percentages without context, without really understanding what he's done this year or how he's grown this year. It's a sad, sad state of affairs and a sad day where I have to watch Josh Lewenberg be the defender for Scottie Barnes. That's how far gone and removed from reality some of this fan base is. But tonight, or today, he showed you who he was. He showed you the troll. He showed you the competitor. He showed you the transition demon. He showed you the pull-up game. He showed you the mid-range. He showed you the post-up. And he showed you just how damn unstoppable this guy is when he puts his mind to scoring the damn basket. I think he's a really misunderstood player. I think people assume when he scores 8 points, 9 points, that he couldn't have scored 30 or couldn't have scored 25. And those people will often ask, well, if you could have scored 25, why'd you score 9? Because those people are dummies. They've never passed up a basket in their lives. They don't understand the context of how the Raptors chose to play out this season, his role, what his role was, what he was asked to do on the defensive end versus the offensive end. But you see in a game like this, and you can chalk it up to, oh, it's the last game of the season. It doesn't matter, whatever, whatever. Yo, when this guy was rolling, when he wanted this was a 20-point blowout. And if they'd put their foot on their necks, they could have made this a 30 to 40-point blowout. People talk about him like he actually can't score. If I had told you that 35 points ties a career high, that if I told you when he was drafted that he would score 35 points at any point in his life and as an NBA player, forget averaging 20, forget being an all-star, forget being a rookie of the year. If I told you that he just scored 35 points, you might have assumed half the league died. You just don't get it. You don't get this guy. And that's okay, because you know what? You don't have to. And I don't have to explain it to you. And I don't have to go on the panel and justify why I still believe, despite everything that's happened this year, that Scottie Barnes is still the best player from the 2021 draft class, that there's nobody else in that draft class that I would trade him for one right now. Frankly, I don't think I would take 2 picks plus the next best player. That's how strongly I believe in this guy. Now, I've had some incredibly hot takes before on this channel. I think a lot of them have gone pretty well. Wouldn't you agree? Remember my free Jeff Doughton movement? Remember that whole thing where I was sitting there saying, man, Jeff is better. Y'all don't realize. And people were like, bet he's not scoring. Look at his numbers. He's averaging 4 points per game. Y'all remember yourselves? You dummies. Look at yourself in the mirror next time. Come on, man. Think about what I'm saying to you. Have you watched Jeff Doughton this season? Have you watched him? Do you see his numbers? I saw a graph the other day for all the scorers in the league who shoot above 50% from the field, from mid-range, and above 40% from three. He's number 1 in the league. You know who number 2 is? Kevin Durant. Everybody else in the league is everybody else on that list is pretty much a star except for Jeff. He's averaging like 19 points per game over the last little stretch here. He's balling out. Yeah, it's for the tanking Sixers and blah, blah, blah. But you see, the talent is talent. It does emerge. Work ethic is work ethic, and what drives people drives people. That's just how you do this. Look, when I scout a player, I don't just look at what they can do. I look at what they're trying to do. I look at who they are. I look at where they come from, and that matters. And it's going to be a really big part of why I'm going to make a really strong case that the Raptors really strongly need to look at Carter Bryant, because I have spent a lot of time over the last 6 weeks digging into this dude. I haven't talked about him on the channel, but I'm going to tell you that this is a special player coming out of Arizona. Like he's really good. So we're going to talk about Carter Bryant a little bit. Let's talk about this performance from Scottie Barnes. Finishes the game with 35 points. Put it up on the screen here. 35 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists. Yo, this guy could have had like 14 assists if his teammates just made shots tonight. 15 assists maybe. Now would we be talking? Maybe. But he misses his triple-double. He misses his second triple-double of the season by 2 assists. He has 11 rebounds, 8 assists on 15 for 23 shooting. Made both of his threes, including a nice little crossover step-back 3. That was nice to see. Haven't seen that much this year and haven't seen it go down much this year. This was a really dominant game. And I really liked the compete level from Scottie. Honestly, I need more of that. But in a season that was this lost this early, in a season that you basically walked in already waving the white flag of, hey, we're not planning to be competitive this year, guys. When your general manager comes out and says, we are rebuilding, it is the same message to you as it is to the players. We're not trying to be good this year. We're trying to get good quickly. We're trying to develop these players. And I do believe that Scottie Barnes had to sign off on that. I do believe that he had to accept that and embrace that. And you remember the last time the Raptors had a player with a lot of money on the line and they said, we need to get some young players some minutes for reps. You remember how that went over? Didn't go over so well with Fred VanVleet. Didn't go over so well with Pascal Siakam. No, they were saying, show me the money. Show me the money first. Give me the money first, and then I'll agree to this bullshit. I'm not agreeing to Scottie Barnes' isolation possessions as I float off the ball in my numbers tank in a contract year, Mr. Nick Nurse and Mr. Masai Ujiri. I'm not doing that. Scottie Barnes happily did that. He did that for you. He had no problem playing with Colin Castleton, tried to boost him up. No problem playing with Orlando Robinson, tried to boost him up. No problem playing with Davion Mitchell and Jamal Shead and some of the awful spacing lineups as he continued to struggle. No problems taking jabs from the media and the fans, probably getting, had to shut down his mentions in his Instagram stories the entire damn year, knowing how much of a train wreck this year was going to be. I don't think. And sorry, basketball is extremely disagreeable. He's a contrarian, should be introverted, but isn't. I'm plenty introverted. Just because I get on a mic and tell you you're a dummy doesn't mean I'm not an introvert. But what I will say is that when he was a rookie and I said he's going to contribute sooner, when I pushed and said he's going to be rookie of the year, you watch, he's going to be a better player than Jalen Suggs. He's going to turn out to be a better player than Cade Cunningham. Nobody believed me. Nobody believed me. Everyone said I was stupid. I was crazy. I was just a Raptor fan, just a Raptor capper. But you know who had the last laugh? Me. When I saw him hoist that Rookie of the Year trophy, I said, told you so. No problem. In his second year, they questioned his work ethic. They said he plateaued. Maybe he got lucky with that Rookie of the Year. The rest of the league is caught up to him now. This is the Draymond Green we were promised. He's not very good. And I said, hang on. I know what drives this guy. I know how great he wants to be. I know the work that he puts into it. That's just a down year. Chill. I never sold my Scottie stock. I bought Scottie stock while these rest of these dummies were selling their Scottie stock. I was sitting there hoarding it up. You know why? Because the next year he came out and became an all-star. And I said, told you so. Told you so. You don't bet against this guy. Do you understand? This is a guy who played with Cade Cunningham in high school and then came out into his rookie season and wrote down to be rookie of the year. You think he's dodging Cade? You think he's intimidated? You think he's scared? Do you think Scottie Barnes thinks Cade Cunningham is better than him? You think Scottie Barnes, who played with Evan Mobley, Jalen Suggs, Jalen Green, you think Scottie Barnes, one of his best friends is Jalen Green, you think he looks at these guys like, damn, I ain't never going to be better than those guys. Bro, I think he looks at LeBron like food. I think he looks at Kevin Durant like food. I think every single time I've seen him on the court and he's matched up with an all-time great, this guy is just creating little mementos for himself. I don't care how old you are. LeBron, you could be 40. He's coming for you. Chris Paul, you 40. He's coming at you, man. I love that about him. I really do. Because, there's this weird thing. Just imagine yourself, 19 years old, coming into the league. You don't know how to shoot. Apparently, you don't know how to score. Apparently, you're a zero-level scorer. You don't have no energy for LeBron James. You're sitting there like, yes, sir, no, sir. Huh. Nah, not Scottie. You're not sitting there thinking this is your peer. You're not sitting there thinking this guy, I'm going to be better than this guy. I'm going to test myself against this guy. No, you're not doing that. You're not grabbing the ball from friggin' Kevin Durant and screaming in his face. You're not doing that because you're not built like that. I'm not built like that. Most people aren't built like that. He's built like that. Again, it's psychological profiles. You got to see it. AJ DeBonce ain't scared of anybody. Cooper Flag ain't scared of anybody. That's why they're great. That's why they're going to be great. Kobe Bryant wasn't scared of anybody either. Kobe Bryant saw Michael Jordan the same way Michael Jordan saw Larry Bird. Food. You are food. You are a test. You are nothing. I respect you. I revere you. I admire what you've done in the game. But right now, when we step on the court, you are nothing. You're a test. You're a roadblock. Bro, what you saw today, to me, is a teaser. It's what we saw in his rookie season. It's what we saw in his third season. Tonight reminded me of that. Tonight reminded me of a game where he drove with one goal. I didn't see possessions off, bro. I saw no possessions off on defense. I saw no possessions off on offense. This man needs to let it go. Scottie ain't him, bro. He's a decent second, third option. Glad you said that. Let me bring something up for you. I want y'all to hear what Kevin O'Connor said about Cade Cunningham. Hang on. I'm pull this up.
He's all right. He's good. Last time we saw Cade healthy, it was like, he's all right. He's good. He's solid, but he's not number one pick expectations. He's a solid player. He's maybe the 80th best guy in the NBA, the 100th best guy in the NBA, and he goes to an all NBA level. You talk about the leap it takes to go from 40 wins to 60 wins versus 20 wins to 30 wins or 40 wins. Cade went from, is this guy a bust? Or to, oh, wait a minute, he's an all NBA talent. To me, I don't care where the guy was drafted. I care what they were last time we saw them to what they are today. And Cade Cunningham's improvement as a playmaker, as a scorer, as a shooter, consistent.
The reason why you have Cade Cunningham as most improved player of the year in 2025 is because you thought he was a massive bust last year.
Yeah. I thought he looked like a bust. I thought he looked like an okay, solid player, but maybe somebody the Pistons should consider trading. I worried about what he was for that team. I worried that defensively he was too inconsistent. I worried that his efficiency as a perimeter scorer was never going to reach the level that it needed to. But for Cade this year, that he answered a lot of my concerns, and he still has more ways to improve as well over the course of time. That's what's, I think, promising for the Pistons that Cade. But Cade Cunningham, the volume, the increase in minutes, the increase in responsibility, the improvement as a playmaker, to me, Cade took a big leap from solid, the solid number 3 guy or number 4 guy.
Did you hear that? Solid number 3 guy or number 4 guy? You said number 2, number 3. I look forward to you eating your words next year very much. Look, man, let me put it straight. Okay. I'm actually going to bring up the post that I made, which, caught a lot of strays, but I don't care. I said he's still the best player from the 2021 class. Did I stutter? I'm no front runner. I told you this 3 years ago, 2 years ago, a year ago, and I'll tell you this 40 years from now. Tough seasons be damned, shooting slumps be damned. I know the force that drives this man forward. There's no one in this class that I'd rather have leading this team. Y'all can bookmark this and post it and come back to me next year. When he won the Rookie of the Year, I said, I told you so. When he became the first player from the 2021 draft class to make an all-star team, I told you so. And I'm going to keep telling you so. Scottie is the truth. And if you can't see that, maybe that's a you problem. And I meant it. Here's the thing. Anybody can flex when they're up. I don't like front runners. Some of y'all are front runners. That's the problem. Some of y'all are real front runners. You don't support when people are down. You don't support when someone has a bad shooting slump. You turn your backs. And quite frankly, these hoes ain't loyal. That's the truth. These hoes ain't loyal. You're not a hoe, are you? Then stand proud. The man was 20 years old when he won Rookie of the Year. He was 22 when he made his first All-Star team. Y'all want to sneeze at that. Are you dumb? While Cade Cunningham was being ranked as quote-unquote the 80th best player, this dude cemented himself as a top 20 player in the league for a very sizable stretch, and then maybe plateaued to a top 40 player. Finished the season as a top 40 player in the league last year. Came down this year. Maybe some people would say he maybe regressed to top 40, top 45. Ain't no way since his rookie season at any point that you could really say he's not been a top 50 player. Some of you could, though. I'm going to be honest. Some of you could. But then again, some people can say the earth is flat. People can say a lot of shit. My point is, when you see the physics of how Scottie scores, I think you have to address a giant elephant in the room. This was always supposed to be the furthest thing. When you see some of the stuff that he did today, I'm going to show you some of the stuff that he did, just in case you missed it. You would be forgiven in missing this game. Don't you worry. It's okay. It's perfectly fine. Nobody's judging you. I mean, look, you got Vince Carter saying, I truly believe Scottie Barnes can be a guy like a Jokic where he can get close to a triple-double every single game. You got Masai Ujiri saying this is the guy we're building around. This is the guy we're going to trade out everybody for. This is the guy we're holding out in Kevin Durant talks. You got people like Kevin Durant saying this is next up. You got LeBron James co-stamping that. You got Kevin Garnett saying he reminds me of myself. You got Magic Johnson saying he reminds me of myself. You got Kyle Lowry saying he's going to be great. You got everybody saying that. You got his head coach saying he's going to be the face of the league. You got Bobby Webster, saying that this is the guy that we want to build around. Scoring will come. But apparently, y'all think he's a bum. Twitter thinks he's a bum, so he's a bum. I guess the internet wins. The collective basketball IQ of Twitter might be in the toilet, but apparently Twitter wins. It's not a problem. It's not a problem. It's not a problem, bro. It's not a problem. Okay. Take a look at this pass. Yo, this is some like Tom Brady shit. Look at this pass. Can you tell Scottie used to play football? Yeah, you can. I don't know how the hell he got that one through. But AJ Lawson was very happy he got it through because he went to the line for 3. Again, I could go through 100 possessions of Scottie doing exactly this to all sides of defenders. Small, big, long, great defender, DPOY type of guy. Doesn't matter. He'd do this to OG. He'd do this to Tatum. He'll do this to anybody. This is the cheat code. Watch the physics of this shot. Again, Scottie has a lot of advantages and a lot of disadvantages as a basketball player physically. He has super long arms, super big hands, super long legs. This makes it kind of hard to dribble. It makes a lot of things really hard. You have to understand, if we unscrew Scottie like a toy, if we unscrewed him, we would put his legs onto a 7-footer. We would put his arms onto a guy who was 7'1". We'd put his hands onto a guy who was about 7'4". Again, you're talking about weird physics now. But when you get into the post, all of these disadvantages on the perimeter become advantages. And you're going to see that right here. Now, this is a center who has pretty long arms and is doing a pretty good job of defending here. I don't think he's doing a bad job. He reaches here. Now, Scottie's going to feel that tension. Oh, loses him a little bit. Now, too much separation. You can't get back into this. You understand what I'm saying? You just can't. I don't even think this is the best way he's ever done it. I think there's ways that he can do it much better. But when he fades like this, in that spot, this is not a stop. This is not a shot that you're going to be able to stop. And this is the area of the court that all stars and superstars like to dominate. Now, again, ask yourself the question, for all the bag and all the smoothness of Cade Cunningham's game, could he ever generate that type of physical advantage? Not a chance. Is he ever going to be this strong, this big, this long? Is he ever going to have the physical advantages Scottie has? No, he's never going to have that. Not in a million years. And that's the thing. That's when you think about it. You're like, okay, if I could import, let's just say this is NBA 2K, and I could just take Cade's ball skills specifically, footwork, handle, counters, little floater, that little hook shot that Cade has, the touch around the basket, the jump shot. If I could take that and put it into Scottie, right? What would you really have? You would have an MVP. You would have the best player in the league, bar none. Now, I don't even think Scottie's that far away from doing all that stuff. I think every single summer we see more. We see more counters. We see him get a little bit lower with the handle. We see him get a little bit tighter with that handle. We see the little bit more bag work. We see a little bit more counters. We see him shaking guys a little bit more. I really do believe that he's not that far away. And again, with Brandon Ingram, the shot diet adjusts. He's going to be a lot better. But you take shots like that, and you're like, damn, if he could put that together for 2-3 possessions a game and hit it at a consistent clip. Now, again, I think Champagne does a pretty good job defending this. I don't think he's just playing off of him. Look, this is a fully contested 3. This is as well as you can humanly possibly contest a 3. He's still going to make it. That's the advantage of being 6'8.5". That's the advantage of having such a high release point. Now, again, the jump shot's a work in progress. This is something that Bryant would admit to. This is something Scottie would admit to. I think this is something Bobby Webster has already talked about. I think Darko Rajakovic has talked about it. Literally nobody up here is saying Scottie is a finished product or that Scottie is as good as he needs to be and Scottie doesn't need to work hard this summer. I believe there's one thing that consistently proves true about people is that when they show you who they are, believe them. Okay? Again, what I say, right? Competitor. Total demon. Look at this. This is the funniest play possibly of the game. Now, this is a Hall of Famer. as clear as day, this is a Hall of Famer. This is Chris Paul, and this is Scottie Barnes, just towering over him, kind of trying to bully him. You know what I mean? It takes a lot of guts to go up to a Hall of Famer and try to bully them. He's bullying him right now. He's been trying to bully him all game, frankly. And he does this. So he's trying to get in his head, right? He's trying to play little mind games. Look at this. Now he grabs his hand and tries to put it up to his face so he can flop. It's hilarious. Watch this. It is really funny. I don't know if y'all saw this. Kyle Lowry used to do shit like this all the time. Oh man. That's funny. So first flop. Dares the ref to make that call. They don't make the call. What's that old saying? If at first you don't succeed, try again. Because here comes Scottie. You can sort of see him in the corner. He's the guy right at the he does it again. You know, whether it is doing the finger guns to Mikal Bridges, whether it is screaming, ripping the ball away from LeBron James and doing his signature transition dunk, the tomahawk, or whether it is literally pulling a Chris Paul on Chris Paul, I do appreciate Scottie's sense of humor because it is damn hilarious. But also, it is an indication of what drives this guy. Unethical. It's not unethical. It's hilarious. Yeah, you're saying this is disgusting basketball. I mean, it's disgusting when it's on the other team, but I mean, my God, man, be a fan for a second. I thought it was hilarious. Bring back ethical hoops with Pascal. You thought Pascal Siakam was ethical? Yeah. Driving into the paint, flopping all over the place. Pascal, one of the biggest floppers ever, man. Come on now. You think that was ethical? Anyways, this game was about much more than Scottie, obviously. But I got to tell you, man, it's going to feel really, really sweet to say I told you so this time because it's really like something about 3 times the charm, right? And again, when you hear his internal reasoning, you get a deeper insight into who this guy is. This is the first summer that he's going to be walking in as a max player. Those paychecks get real different. You know, NBA players get paid intermittently throughout the year, and I don't think he's seen this much money in his life. And there's a lot of people that see money and they get real complacent, right? I don't know what to call those people. I don't want to make a moral judgment about them. But there are people like that, right? Where the more you pay them, it seems like the less they work. I feel like with Scottie, the more you pay him, the more he works. The more you instill faith in him, the more responsibility you load him up with, the more he tends to grow into that responsibility. And it sort of reminds me of what they did with him this year. They challenged him to be a leader. They challenged him to be the leader on defense. They challenged him to be an anchor. They challenged him to be a great teammate. They challenged him to be a coordinator for the younger guys and a teacher and a mentor. They challenged him to see himself in a way that he hasn't seen himself before. And I think he rose to that standard exceptionally well, to the point where even his biggest detractors, the most loud vocal detractors, cannot doubt how much this guy has grown off the court. So you can look at the numbers. You can certainly look at the numbers, and I'll tell you that those numbers have gone up. There's a lot of numbers that have gone up. You'll point to his points per game going down. I'll point to his points per 36 minutes and his points per 100 possessions going up. You'll point to, maybe a regression in terms of 3-point shots. I'll say there's a complexity, there is a regression in easy 3-point shots. There's certainly a huge uptick, maybe a triple uptick in terms of unassisted, self-generated off the dribble threes, the hardest shot in the league. If you could hit it consistently, you'd be a franchise player. You'd be Steph Curry. Those are the shots that Steph Curry hits consistently off the dribble. Damian Lillard, Trae Young. There are not a lot of players that hit those shots at a high clip. Not a lot. Okay. So look, the roster formula around Scottie Barnes is very simple. We have seen it work. The shot profile and shot diet for Scottie Barnes is very simple. We have seen it work. I think the Raptors have plenty of evidence in terms of what type of player Scottie can be, and maybe perhaps some sobering realities and what type of player he can't be. I'll tell you what kind of player he probably can't be. He's not going to be Michael Jordan and Anthony Edwards. Surprise. He's probably not going to be a guy who's going to be able to break down the defense from a standstill without any sort of movement, without any sort of screening, and just blow past people. That's probably not going to happen. He's going to have to craft his way to the basket, and frankly, the craft is just not there yet. So if the craft is not there, and unfortunately, the athleticism and the burst is not there, that twitch athleticism that allows you to just blow by people like, I don't know, a Jeremiah Fears and, this year's draft, or a Ja Morant, where maybe that blow by speed, like a Tyrese Maxey, that allows you to get downhill and generate advantages is not there. Well, then you're going to have to do it through brute strength. And unfortunately, when you're playing against fours in the NBA, the brute strength ain't there either. So Scottie's sort of in a no man's land situation in terms of generating advantages in half court, right? He's not able to do it like Paolo because he's not nearly as strong or nearly as huge. He's not able to do it like Giannis because he's not nearly as athletic. He's not Russell Westbrook. He's not these guys. So there's got to be a place where you can go for consistent offense. I think the problem with Scottie is there's no one singular thing that most people can point to and say, you're great at this, do this all the time. He's very, very good at very many things, and he's sort of average at a lot of things. He's not bad at anything. He's certainly not a bad defender. He's not a bad rebounder. He's not a bad passer. He's not a bad shooter. I don't think he's a bad shooter. You could say he's a bad shooter. I don't give a shit what you say. Frankly, bad shooters don't take as many threes as he's taken. They don't make as many threes. Bad shooters don't make 7 threes in an NBA game. They just don't. Bad shooters don't shoot 39% for an entire 3 months. They just don't do that. Okay, from three, regardless of how open they are. So there's types of threes that he definitely can take. And you know what? When success is the goal, when winning basketball games is the goal, like it was this year for the Detroit Pistons, you structure your game plan, and you structure your roster, and you structure your lineups, and you structure your health, and you structure your conditioning and your training, and basically your entire organization in a very different way. When winning becomes the goal, there's a lot of things that successful organizations do. They bring in veterans. They stop playing young players all the time. Oh, Jonathan Mogbo. Oh, Rich, you want minutes? You're going to play in the G League. You're not getting minutes on a competitive team. You're just not going to be able to. This year was extended run for the G League, basically. You got to see the G League play with 2 to 3 Raptors every single night. Now, early on, it was because of injuries. But once the Raptors got far behind the 8 ball, it was just stagger. We have been staggering full lineups, healthy lineups, because we proved that those healthy lineups were going to win games. We proved it. We were going out there and beating teams like Boston, Orlando, whipping Orlando. So you look at that and you're just like, we're really competitive against these good teams. If we really wanted to push for a play-in spot, we had it. We 100% had it. We could have caught Miami. We could have caught Chicago. Certainly could have gone for the play-in. We decided to prioritize youth, upside, development. We decided to prioritize reps. We decided to prioritize Scottie. We decided to prioritize health by not playing RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, Brandon Ingram, and Jakob Poeltl very much down the stretch. Frankly, you minimize the chances that one of them has a season-ending injury, at which point you're absolutely locked into these players in the offseason because they're not going to be able to be traded. I think the Raptors will be very active on the trade deadline or trade market this offseason. I think there's a lot of teams that might be looking to offload better players. Players like Lauri Markkanen, players like Derek White, players like Drew Holiday, players like Sam Hauser, players who could become available simply because their teams have a financial need to offload them. Players like Kevin Durant, possibly. Players like Devin Booker, probably, possibly. There's a lot of players that could become available this offseason as teams really start to stare at the true ramifications of the new CBA, at which point the Toronto Raptors are primed to once again be opportunistic. The Raptors have prioritized being opportunistic pretty much for the last year and a half. They have been vultures. I really enjoy this vulture style management that they've been doing. Last year, there was an opportunity with the Sacramento Kings. The Sacramento Kings, desperate as they were, Mr. Vivek Ranadive and their front office decided that they needed DeMar DeRozan so badly they were willing to dump 3 assets to take back an asset that they didn't even want, whom they very soon waived, the totally most useless player in NBA history, Jalen McDaniels. They were willing to give up Davion Mitchell, Jamal Shead, plus this year's second-round pick, which we're all very, very thankful for. Thank you very much, Sacramento. All in order to have Toronto eat Sasha Vezenkov's contract. A contract, by the way, that they were very happy to eat, and a player, by the way, that I think the Raptors would have been very happy to have. Sasha Vezenkov would have been phenomenal with the Raptors. I watch him every week. I think he's a really good player. But that relationship that Sasha had with Darko allowed for a little wink-wink in my humble estimation. I'm not reporting, but I kind of did mention it when it happened, that the Raptors would be the team that would allow Sasha Vezenkov to go back, and they ate zero money off that contract, which makes the deal even better. The Raptors found opportunity there, right? Yes, they did. The Raptors found opportunity again with Brandon Ingram, right? You had a team that had a star player who was disgruntled, didn't want to be there, didn't want to take less money, maybe a bit of a checkered injury history. You had a cheap ownership that didn't want to pay him. And so you capitalized. You traded two players you had absolutely no interest in bringing back. And you traded a pick that may be a mid first round pick in 2026. And you got back what you consider to be a massive talent upgrade, an infusion of talent. And everybody cried, what are they doing? Oh my God, what about their pick? As I said, chill the fuck out. I did say that. I never panicked about the Brandon Ingram trade, not once. You never caught me saying anything bad about it because it was a great trade. It was a phenomenal trade. And that deal that they signed him to is a phenomenal deal. If he's healthy, even more so. If he's a little bit healthy, less so. If he's completely injured for the next 3 years, I'll swallow my words. I fucked up. But if Brandon Ingram is healthy, he is worth that contract. And so we see what the Raptors are doing. Not only are they being opportunistic as hell, which I really appreciate. Oh, wait, wasn't there another opportunity they seized? Yeah. There was a team that needed some money, so they bought a pick to draft over Shamshay. I remember that. Yeah, that happened. That definitely happened. They were a little bit opportunistic when they saw an undrafted, kind of awkward looking guy from the Ohio State sitting in the undrafted heap. They brought him to camp, and then they made him a two-way player, and then they signed him to a full deal. That's Jamison Battle. They found him for nothing. That's being opportunistic. Opportunity comes to those who move towards it. Opportunity ain't coming to you if you're sitting on your couch doing nothing, twiddling your thumbs and wondering, well, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. You have analysis paralysis. The Raptors do not have analysis paralysis right now. The Raptors are willing to be active because they are willing to do something that they haven't done in a few years. They're willing to build a roster around Scottie Barnes that actually works for Scottie Barnes. Just like the Detroit Pistons have built a roster around Cade Cunningham that works for his strengths: shooting and defense, youth, athleticism, shooting, defense. Dennis Schroeder, Malik Beasley played 82 games this year, having a career year. I think he broke 300 threes. Tim Hardaway Jr. Do you understand how much better these players are than Garrett Temple? Do you understand how much better these players are than Bruce Brown? Do you understand the gap? Do you see it? It's huge. As high as you can be on Jacoby Walter as a rookie, these players are significantly better than Jacoby Walter. Can we be real about that? Forget the flash in the pan of talent. We're talking NBA pros who've played deep playoff minutes, right? These are the guys that win you games. Danny Greens, Serge Ibaka. These are the guys. You understand what a gap there is between Serge Ibaka and Colin Castleton? So when you judge the Scottie Barnes, RJ Barrett numbers, and you say, but look at the efficiency. Bro, you know how hard it is to be efficient when you're the only player on your team who can score? You know how hard it is to be efficient when the other team can double team you and the corner is Davion Mitchell and the other corner is Jamal Shead? Do you understand how hard it is to play basketball in a situation like this? It's very difficult. And if you need an example, look no further than last year's Detroit Pistons. Cade was being smothered every time he came off a pick because they didn't respect Asar Thompson. They didn't respect Killian Hayes, Malachi Flynn, and all the trash players he played with last year. They didn't respect them. This year, you add a top 5 pick, you add Tobias Harris, you add Malik Beasley, you add Tim Hardaway Jr., you add a year of development for those young players. Asar Thompson comes back. He looks much better. And suddenly, it's a very different equation in a very watered-down Eastern Conference. It's not just Cade. Cade ain't just doing this. Cade has had a fantastic season. If I had an NBA vote, he would be on All-NBA, second team or third team for me this year. It's not changing the physics of the player, man. If I had a vote for All-NBA last year and I had to cast that vote at the All-Star break, Scottie Barnes would have been All-NBA for the same reasons. Winning impact, 100%. So now you're putting players around Scottie that really work, frankly. Emmanuel Quickly to give you this theoretical shooting. Grady Dick, Jacoby Walter, Jamison Battle to give you more theoretical shooting. RJ Barrett to give you that weak side attack driver who can get to the paint and dish now. Brandon Ingram, that isolation scorer that you can get to when your offense breaks down in the half court so you don't have to go create shit for yourself, who can draw a double team and kick it out to you either because you're a great cutter or maybe you can play a little bit of pick and roll with Brandon Ingram because you're a great screener. You can do that. I think there's a pathway forward here. What about that potentially 7th or 8th overall pick? Now we got to talk about Carter Bryant. Now look, this draft is awesome. I have made various promises about wanting to get into big boards, mock drafts, etc. But you know what? I wanted to do more research because every single time I wanted to make a mock draft, I stumble upon pick 12, 13, and I'm a little bit lost. And I'm like, do I really want to put this player over this other player? Because I haven't watched this other player more than 2 games. Do I want to be making mock drafts based on 1 to 2 game samples? Hell no. So I do more. I have a checklist. I have a spreadsheet. I go through. I have a checklist of certain things that I need. Here's what I need. From every prospect, I need 3 to 5 full games across, separated by more than 8 months. That's the minimum. So if I'm going to talk about a player, is because I watch that. I'm going to need at least 1 hour of high school tape or tape from at least 2 years ago to compare how that prospect is working forward. This is to see how their body has progressed over that time. This is to see if maybe there's some repeat tendencies that keep coming up in their tape, like decision making, ball handling, etc. I also do this other thing where I listen to every publicly available interview with that player ever, post game, pre game, social media, podcasts. I don't care. I see which stories stay the same. What is the reasoning? What are they consistently talking about? How do they answer questions? How fully do they understand their own strengths and weaknesses, and how closely does it match up with my scouting report on them? I.e., if a player says I'm a great shooter and the tape is telling me he's not a great shooter, this is probably a recipe for disaster because this is not a player who understands their strengths and weaknesses, which gives me some insight into the fact that this player may not actually be around people who are telling him the truth. Right? Box plus minus has nothing to do with this. You don't understand what you're talking about, and that's okay. Just going to leave it there. Don't need to explain it any further. You don't understand the formula. I don't think you get it. I don't think you have to. I think you can stick to points per game, rebounds per game, assists per game, and keep this nice and simple for yourself. It's probably cool. No, you don't agree. Of course I don't agree because, like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, man. Honestly, some people are just not worth it. Some conversations just cannot be had. That's kind of where I'm at right now. Okay, so the point being, let me not get too far off my vibe here. What the hell was I talking about? Now I'm thinking like, right. So, scouting. I also have a box for periphery. Previous coaches, coaches discussing the player, previous coaches that have coached that player, other teammates discussing that player, and I try to find out what they say and how they talk about that player. Because I don't have the budget right now to go and fly out and see these prospects physically, which is the best way to evaluate any prospect, I do the best that I can. So one player that was very, very, very high on my must scout list was Carter Bryant. And I got to tell you, I am blown away by this kid. Blown away. A lot of people are talking about Rasheer Fleming. A lot of people are talking about Ace Bailey. A lot of people are talking about Colin Knippel. And for good reason. There's a lot to like in this draft. But I need to tell you about Carter Bryant. Okay? Okay. Let me bring this up. Kind of gave a bit of a... So, first and foremost, here's a little bit of Carter Bryant. For those unfamiliar, I'm hoping that this is not going to get taken down because of copyright, because this is March Madness. So I'm just going to stop and play. First of all, he is enormous. Okay. There's a lot of players that are listed as 6'8" that turn out to measure closer to 6'6". I think this guy might end up measuring close to 6'8" barefoot. He is huge. Okay. For a wing, he is truly that Jason Tatum size. He is enormous. That shot block is awesome. Look at this one. Again. Look at how quickly he's able to get up on this shot. It's insane. Okay. And then he runs the court like a gazelle here, perfectly fills the lane, cuts behind the defense, and gets this dunk. He's a pogo stick. He's extremely bouncy. Now, he is not 18. He is 19, and he will actually be 20 on my birthday, which is funny, this year. So he'll be 20 this November. He's 19 right now, so he's not 18. Okay, so this jump shot, not that necessarily Jason Tatum's the best shooter in the world or anything like that, but this jump shot has a lot of Jason Tatum form in it. And you can tell he's watched a lot of Jason Tatum. Hits that. Nice. Okay. Again, take a more detailed look at this jump shot kind of as he gathers into it. And you can see that with his size and with that release, this is not a shot that is going to struggle at the next level. There's a lot of players who shoot it flat, shoot it low. There's too much of a dip. I think this is a shot that is actually going to translate to the next level. And again, there are a lot of players in this league that don't have shots that translate from the college level. Again, defense blows past him. He doesn't care. He shot a really high percentage of his shots. Over 50% of his shots came from three this past year. Now look at this defense. This is a center trying to back him down. Can't move him. He gives up zero room, right? Now, hands up. Who does this remind you of? Who does this remind you of? Honestly, man, you know who this reminds me of? And look at this. Look at this. This offensive player is going to expose the basketball. Boom. Now, typically, I would prefer you swipe up at the ball as opposed to swipe down at the ball. But you got a clean swipe, good hands, shows great hand-eye coordination. Whether you're talking blocks, whether you're talking steals, he shows great hand-eye coordination. FA saying Carter Bryant is not a top 10 pick, late lottery to mid-20s. Bro, just like, Scottie Barnes wasn't a top 5 pick, borderline. Trust me, man, he's good. Okay, I suggest you watch more of him. This, late contest, doesn't matter. Really good, man. Now, off-ball patterns, really good. Takes this congested three, loses his defender, spaces out to the corner, and hits the shot over the defender. Leg out, extended. Cool. Jesus. Okay. Again, this is a funny play. It didn't count. But he made it. Here's a little bit about Carter Bryant that I thought maybe y'all should know. Okay. So first of all, Toronto has bet on length and positional versatility a lot under Masai Ujiri, and for good reason. So Scottie Barnes, OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, Jonathan Mogbo. The list is really long. Under Darko, we've seen more of a focus on shooting upside with picks like Grady and Jacoby. So not a lot of like project D type of players, but more like in the first round, we're seeing players who have a projectable jump shot, who've shown at a previous level that they can shoot. So they've also been more than willing to take a gamble on players with very poor assist metrics. So we consider poor assist metrics, sub 10% assist percentage is the cutoff for poor assist metrics. And that's a concern with consensus top 5 pick Ace Bailey, who has, if I recall correctly, 8.3% assist percentage, which is very low. Basically shows me you do not create for others. But it was the same thing with Ochai Agbaji, Grady Dick, and Jacoby Walter. All of them had sub 10% assist percentages. In fact, later on, I'll tell you which players specifically had it throughout NBA history. You'll be surprised to see a lot of Raptors on that list. So a big part of how I scout, as I mentioned, is off the court. This takes time, but digging through 10 to 15 hours of pods, interviews, reaching out to people who played with the player or had contact when that's available. My takeaways about Carter are what make me so positive that Toronto will be interested. So faith first of all, like I talked about this extensively, very, very big for the Raptors that they draft players who have high character. This is about as high character a player as I've come across this entire draft cycle. Like I can't say enough good things about him. There's a lot of really fantastic people who come from really fantastic families. There's a lot of people who've done incredible things in the community where, you can get a pastor or a previous, teacher to say like they were an excellent student or whatever. But this kid is like the walking embodiment of like great person off the court. Okay. And I can't say how much that means to Masai Ujiri and the Raptors. Like they want high character guys, especially young guys who might be coming in with a shaky role, inconsistent role, not starting right away. Please believe me, if RJ Barrett is not traded, this player ain't starting. They're not starting over Grady Dick. They're not starting over Jacoby. Well, they might start over Jacoby, but unless it's a center, and frankly, if it's a center, they're not starting over Jakob. So frankly, unless someone moves on, this player is going to come off the bench. How is that player going to adjust to that? The Raptors have had no problem drafting players who came off the bench. Scottie Barnes did a lot of bench scoring, came off the bench a little bit from Florida State. They didn't care about that. And they're not necessarily always showing that they want to get the biggest bucket getters in college basketball, right? Like they've shown an ability to get guys who just sort of fit into a role, right? And Carter is that. So he did come off the bench for all but 2 games. So faith first, humble kid, insanely hard worker, loves basketball and winning. So his dad, Deshane Bryant, he coached Kawhi Leonard at Riverside's King High School. So he really did grow up around the game. Just imagine how old this kid would have been when Kawhi was in high school. He was basically a child, right? He was like 4 years old, 3 years old when Kawhi was in high school. So those are like the earliest memories that he has of basketball. So great familial bloodlines in athletics. So this is going right back to his grandfather, his mother, his father. Like there's a lot of sports in his bloodline. Okay. And gosh, it really shows. He went to Arizona without a commitment on playing time. This is something that he talked about. So he said, he didn't want any coach to be promising him minutes. He wanted to go and earn it. He was choosing between Arizona and Louisville and ended up choosing Arizona despite the fact that with Louisville, he would have made more NIL money because he felt that U of A would be better to prepare him for the next level. So he grew up watching a lot of Tatum, Kobe, Paul George, Grant Hill, and Brandon Roy. Tracy McGrady was another name that he mentioned. Had a serious injury which required a surgery, so developmental potential might be a little bit untapped. But again, Toronto wants good people, and Brian is as good as a person as they come for between basketball players. As a player, he will remind you a lot of players like Jason Tatum, Jarace Walker, Jalen Johnson, and Tumani Kamara. He can probably play a little bit of 3-4 right away. He has gotten really strong over the last few years. I wouldn't rule out the ability to guard 4 positions at the next level. I could see him guarding 2s, 3s, 4s right away. I could imagine him guarding some 5s in small ball lineups, maybe even switching out to some slower footed 1s. So shot form is really smooth, took a decent volume of 3s. So over half his 3s come from beyond the arc, a lot of self-generated, but a lot of catch and shoot as well. And he'll do really well in that 3-and-D archetype as Toronto grows this overall game. He had a 5.3 defensive box plus minus. I'll remind you that is identical to the box plus minus that Ryan Dunn had as a freshman at Rice. So 5.3 defensive box plus minus at Arizona is insane. So Really takes a lot of pride in that end on the floor, runs hard, has great hands, great timing, good hand-eye coordination. Can definitely float in and out of games for long stretches, like many young players, struggles at times to create his own offense from a standstill in the half court. Runs the floor like a gazelle and a very powerful one at that. A very legit 6'8" massive human being. Big basketball dreams, has a post pinned on his profile proclaiming he's going to be the best player in the world at some point. Came off the bench for most of the season, but was efficient in his minutes. So nearly 60% true shooting and 37% from three. Solid numbers. He's a real NBA player. He'll have a 10 plus year career. He can play a role right away and probably give you 10 to 15 minutes of solid, relatively error free basketball. But the potential reminds me very much in the all-star tier. I'm impressed, very impressed. So that's where I'm at with Carter Bryant. I'm sure we'll do a video breakdown of him at some point when we do our mock draft, but I consider me very, very high on him. Now, this is something that I wanted to say about Ace Bailey because I've been pretty low on Ace Bailey, and I just wanted to bring this up because I thought it was very interesting. Okay, so Toronto may very well be high on Ace Bailey. And again, this is barring, this is provided we end up moving into the top four and Dylan Harper and Cooper Flag are off the board. So while many teams have soured on Bailey's extremely low sub 10% assist percentage, Toronto probably won't be one of them. There are very few wings who've been drafted in the first round over the last 15 years with an assist percentage below 10%. Here are some. This is a nice little trivia for you. John Jenkins, Moses Moody, Ben Shepherd, Corey Kispert, Malik Beasley, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Nick Stauskas, Terrence Ross, Harrison Barnes. Oh, that's ironic. Those two end up together again. TJ Warren, Jordan Hawkins, Kevin Knox, Sam Decker, Andrew Wiggins, Sadiq Bey. So a couple former Raptors there, Terrence Ross and Sam Decker. But the most interesting thing is three of the last guys were Grady Dick, Jacoby Walter, and Ochai Agbaji. That is interesting. And Ace Bailey, worth noting, has a lower assist percentage than all three of them. Marginally. But I think we've seen a lot of positive playmaking from Grady and Jacoby that suggests that maybe playing this sort of scorer role in college is not necessarily indicative of the fact that you can't pass. And I think that's where Jacoby's high school tape really helped me understand his playmaking at Link. And that's where perhaps even Carter Bryant, right? He is another guy who, like Ace Bailey, has a sub 10% 3-point assist percentage. And I look at that and I'm like, does that mean he's a non-playmaker? Does that mean he doesn't know how to pass? Honestly, I don't really care because he's a pretty smart player. And I know that Darko can coach this part about him, right? Nice one saying, how is Ace's defense? He's okay. He's good. It's a lot of theoretical upside with Ace Bailey. I think he dials in and out. I don't think it's anywhere close to Carter Bryant's, though. I'll give you that right now. Ace may be an inch taller. I think Carter's just as long. I think he's way more athletic. I think Carter is a better athlete, frankly. He really reminds me of Jalen Johnson. Like the force that he moves through, he is like really strong. You know what I mean? Like it's one thing to be 6'8" and wiry, like where you bump and you fall back. This guy strikes me as the type of guy who has, I don't want to say Giannis type of athleticism because that might be stretching it. He is a really good athlete. He reminds me a little bit of Rodney Carney as an athlete. I don't know if y'all remember Rodney Carney. Players like that kind of track athlete, like that really effortless running, powerful, really forceful energy moving to the basket. He clears guys out of the way a little bit, maybe like a taller Ochai Agbaji that way. Like he has a real chance to be good, like really good. So again, people get too caught up in mock drafts. I really don't care. Is he a bigger Desmond Bane? No, I don't think that's fair. Here we go. That's cool, man. How's Brandon Miller doing? He's not that great. Despite a very strong start to his rookie season. I'm not saying he's a bust, but he's not that great, bro. I'm telling you, man, like, and Brandon Miller, if I evaluate Brandon Miller versus Ace Bailey as prospects, I have to say I'd probably give Brandon Miller the edge. And I had him number 6 on my board. So what am I saying? Here's the thing. I didn't sell my Scoot stock last year. I didn't sell my Jabari Smith stock last year. And frankly, both have looked better. I think sometimes with young prospects, despite early struggles, you just have to be patient. The Raptors will need to be patient, whether they draft Carter Bryant or Kaman Malawach or whoever. I want to do a very brief mock draft right now. We don't have any callers, and that's cool. Hang on. What is it Fanspo that has the mock draft? think it is. There we go. Let's do this. Okay. Ace is 18. Miller was drafted at 20. I agree with you. Look, if the Raptors end up at 4th, I'll certainly debate Ace Bailey versus Kaman Malawach when that time comes. But if both are off the board, I got to tell you, it's Con Knipple, it's Colin Murray Boyles, and it's Carter Bryant for me, personally. I think I would take most of these guys. It might also be Jeremiah Fears. I'm not really sold on Trey Johnson. How about this? We'll do a little mock draft. We'll talk about all these prospects. Let's consider this at the 1 hour mark, the mock draft segment of this. Okay. And this is not really going to be a mock draft as much as it's going to be a let's restart the draft. Confirm. Okay, cool. Draft year. Which team do you want to pick for? I want to pick for all teams. Lottery. Let's go first round. Okay, cool. So, all right. We're on the clock. It doesn't really matter who the team is, but let's just assume I'm going to draft for the teams that are on the clock. And with the first pick, the Washington Wizards make the most obvious draft pick in NBA history, one of the most obvious draft picks in recent memory, and they draft Cooper Flagg. And, you know, Cooper, despite having a somewhat disappointing end to his season, provided a huge exhibition of what type of player he's going to be at the next level. Some people have compared him to Kevin Garnett. Some have compared him to Jason Tatum. I think he's a little bit like Scottie in the sense that it's really hard to compare him to anybody. He is an extremely gifted athlete, really fierce competitor. And yeah, he missed that turnaround and the season didn't end how they wanted it to end. But I just think that he has all world potential on the next level. I think he's going to make all NBA teams. I think he's going to be an all-star. I think he's going to be a franchise changer for anybody, really. Now, number 2, we got the Utah Jazz, and they're in desperate need of a lead ball handler who has a little bit more talent than Isaiah Collier and Keontae George. And I think they're going to get it in Dylan Harper. Now, could they go somewhere else? I mean, there are a few options here that they could look at, but I think this might be the best one for them, especially if next year they're looking to bottom out again and try to go for the top and maybe go for one of the players available in next year's draft. I think Dylan Harper pairs really well with AJ DeBonsa, but I also think he pairs really well with everyone at the very top of next year's draft. So this is going to be a very critical piece, and I wouldn't be surprised if getting Dylan Harper means maybe, just maybe, they're looking to move off of one of their additional guards. May that be Jordan Clarkson. Maybe they can get some assets for him from a team more in a position to win now. Or maybe it could also be Lauri Markkanen. And in which case, Lauri Markkanen, I think the Raptors should go shopping for that. I think the Raptors should go calling if Lauri Markkanen gets put on the market, because I don't think there's going to be a huge market for him. He makes a lot of money. So Dylan Harper is the pick at number 2. At number 3, we have the Charlotte Hornets, who already have an Ace Bailey-sized player on their roster in Brandon Miller, who has missed a lot of time this season. And I don't think that this is the team that will necessarily go off the board just because they have a player of the archetype. But I think Kendrick 2 saying Jazz take Ace here. They're loaded on guards. If you think that Danny Ainge is going to draft for need at the 2nd overall pick, you're crazy. Those guards are Isaiah Collier and Keontae George. No one's definition of future all-stars. That you don't have a franchise level guard. You don't have Cade Cunningham there. You don't have even a Jaden Ivey level prospect. You kidding me, right? Number 3, I'm going to say this. I don't know if it's going to be popular, but I think they're going to go VJ Edgecombe at number 3. The reason I'd say VJ is because I think he just really pairs well in this transition offense that you want to run with LaMelo. He's not necessarily that lead initiator, but he could grow into maybe a secondary creator and a secondary creator with huge defensive upside. I think his stock will fall if he measures closer to 6'3". I think his stock will rise probably to where I'm picking him right now if he measures closer to 6'4". It is going to be the inches. He doesn't have a huge wingspan. I do think he had a really up and down season at Baylor, but I do think he was incredibly productive. And we've seen in the past with Jacoby Walter, that Baylor is just not a system that's necessarily designed to make you look great. But I think in a system that wasn't necessarily designed for him to look great or show all of his package, he showed a lot. Okay, and there's a reason he goes here. Now, number 4 for the New Orleans Pelicans, they get their Brandon Ingram replacement in Ace Bailey to pair with Eve Misi and Trey Murphy and possibly Zion Williamson and possibly, Jordan Hawkins. They have a really good young team here. They don't need Ace Bailey to come in and save them. They can be really patient with him, just like they were with Trey Murphy. They also have Herb Jones. So look, they're batting on upside here. If Ace Bailey really works out for them and becomes the Paul George clone that he's supposed to be, well, great. You have a franchise player at number 4. If he doesn't become that and he just becomes more of a Michael Porter Jr., well, then you have one of the biggest, longest front courts in the NBA in Trey Murphy and Ace Bailey. Who knows? Maybe he'll become a small ball 4. Maybe he'll become more of a 3-2. There's a lot of positional versatility there. I don't think he's necessarily ready to come out and score 20 points in the NBA next year, but certainly think he could be a 20-point per game scorer at some point down the line. And I do think that he'll follow perhaps a pattern of bigger athletes and longer wings doing better at the NBA level because there's more space. So here comes Ace Bailey at number 4. At number 5, we have the Philadelphia 76ers. And this is where the draft gets really interesting because they have shown a propensity to take shot makers. And Trey Johnson is probably one of the best shot makers in this draft. But they also have a huge hole in the center spot. And that's where you got to consider Kaman Malawach here. So it's definitely going to come down between a few players. So let's talk about it. This is a good front office. They're a smart team. And they really do tend to understand what they're doing with the draft, as evidenced by the fact that last year they found Jared McCain at 16. They found Tyrese Maxey a little bit later. It's been a long time since they picked high in the draft because they've always been too good to pick high in the draft. It's worth noting the last time they picked really high in the draft, they completely messed up with Markelle Fultz, but it's also worth noting that that was Brian Colangelo and is not the same ownership group. Sorry, it's not the same management group. So it's really hard here for me, if I'm them, to pass on Kaman Malawach. They would have to be, it's also worth noting, it's really worth noting that Daryl Morey did not draft Joel Embiid. So if you're thinking, hey, they drafted a tall African before, maybe they'll draft a tall African again. Not the same guy. Daryl Morey, the guy who infamously tried to put Russell Westbrook at center and reinvent small ball, it just strikes me as this guy does not mind being a little bit smaller. And that's what makes me think that they'll be picking between a few players here. They'll definitely give some really solid consideration to Trey Johnson, who actually has a lot in common with Jared McCain, but because of his size can actually play a little bit bigger. They do have Adem Bona, you are correct, and Adem Bona has been balling out of his mind lately. They also have Quentin Grimes, so we don't know if Quentin Grimes is going to be coming back for them. I think he's a free agent. Kasparis Yakuchonis could be a pick here. I just think that his stock has fallen too much for him to be in consideration or in play at 5. They could also trade this pick, which I think would be probably the smartest move for them. And Derek Queen could be here. I wouldn't be super shocked. Okay, here's a very off the radar pick. Would they go Colin Murray Boyles here? Would they consider Yegor Demon here? I think there's like 5 guys, 6 guys they can consider here. And I certainly think Con Knipple is one of them. But I'm gonna take Trey Johnson here because he's a consensus number 5 pick right now. Because Daryl Morey has shown a track record of picking these types of guys, I'm gonna take Trey Johnson here. I don't know if they will. I think they might go Kaman Malawach, but nevertheless, number 6, we got the Brooklyn Nets, and this is the most obvious Derek Queen landing spot for me. I think this is as easy a fit as it comes. Obviously, Jordi Fernandez had a lot of success with Domantas Sabonis. This is a player from that Domas, Alperen Şengün sort of family tree, if you will. And I just think he's really skilled. I don't think his numbers necessarily tell you the tale of just how good he is as a passer. We got FA calling in. FA, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up?
What's good?
I'm good. I'm just listening to your mock draft.
Do Do you agree with everything so far, or do I need to restart it and we just alternate?
Let's alternate. I won't take PG at 3.
Okay, we're gonna restart the draft now that FA is here. Hang on, restart. Okay, we
I,
restart.
I really like Adam Bryant. Really, really like him, but I don't know if I'll go top. I think he might move up. Though. I think he's moving up the draft boards.
I think he's gonna sky up the
Yeah,
draft board this
I
season.
really, really like him. He can shoot, he can defend, but he's
Okay,
also young, though. Okay, let's go.
so let's see here. I want to rig this so that I get to pick for Toronto. So if I go first, you go second. I go third, you go fourth. I go fifth, you go sixth. I go seventh. So I'm going first. Cooper Flag is my pick. So you will get to go. But I screw you over because you don't get to pick third.
And that's okay.
Okay, fine. It's fine. You pick first.
Cooper Flag, everybody picks Cooper
Okay,
Flag.
cool. Now I'll pick second. I'm going Dylan Harper again. So who's your third pick?
It's baby.
Ace Bailey. Help me
I know,
understand why they pick Ace Bailey when they already have Brandon Miller and
Phenomenal
when
is
there's
short.
so many concerns about Ace Bailey.
I don't see all the concerns people see. Right? It's a very polarizing player, but the upside is real and the upside is really, really high. And it's just 18 years, just scratching the surface.
So is
He can
Jeremiah
shoot,
Fears,
he
man.
can
Jeremiah
score.
Fears was a better player this year.
Yeah, but look at his really start in January when Dylan Appa was hurt, right? He had the best PPM in the whole in their conference in January when this guy was hurt. And also he has a very, very high defensive upside. When at the beginning of the season, right, he was like he was defending like Jacoby Waters where he was by helping. But in terms of defense, he's one-on-one defense is really good. He's a shot blocker, he's a rebounder, and you can't teach height. If you watch his video, right, when he's shooting, it's like really jumping high and shooting way above everybody. So his line of sight to the rim is very good. So and also we have that. If for Toronto's sake, right, I want him in Toronto because someone like that would change him into a different player. And also imagine him learning from Brandon Ingram and Scottie Barnes. But for Charlotte Hornets, right, you're picking talent. You're just swinging and you want to get the best upside player. I know people like VJ, but the height worries me. Like the NBA is getting really big, and
Mhm.
look at what happened with
But
in
but
the
they have a
final game against.
huge but they have a huge backcourt mate with him and LaMelo Ball, who is pretty bad defensively. So you put a really good ball hawk who can run in transition. I think
Out.
that's worth noting. I mean,
I
VJ
think
was a way better player in college. Can we agree on that?
yeah, I'll trade. Dan who?
VJ was a much better player than Ace Bailey this year. We can agree on that, right?
You gotta look at the team too, right? Rogers had just two players, Ace and Dylan Harper. Like like they got those two talented players that are gonna go top five, period, right?
Do you
And look
think
at
do you think that they got the most development? Like, let me ask you a question though, because I always believe like these early years, I really care how you make decisions. Remember that interview I had with Scotty's trainer where I asked him like, why did he go to Malvern? And he said he wanted to play against size. Like that was the most important thing for him, that he didn't want to get complacent. He wanted to play against size every day in practice. He wanted to play against Cade and guys like, who could really challenge him, guys like Dayron Sharp. So when you think about that early process for young players, if you're chasing NIL deals at fucking 17, 18 years old, if you're chasing, you want to be the man on a really bad team, even though that team, like listen to AJ DeBonsa explain why he went to BYU. It's not just the
it's,
money. It's
it's
not
the
just the
money.
money. It's not
It's the
just the
money.
money. It's not just the money.
UNC was there. It's the money. Let's not deceive ourselves. Look at the other BYU player that's leaving. Not BYU Baylor player that's leaving Baylor to go join AG Devonsta. The guy from
Bro, they have a complete NBA staff. Like they got a total NBA staff over there at BYU. Everybody's ex NBA. So that's what really sold him. Like he's
I
not
think
lying unless you're
it,
gonna call him a liar.
I'm not calling him a liar, but it's mainly the money, the 7.5 million that come on. Like look at all why is the
He's the
whole
best player in the
basketball
country. He would have made money anywhere, man. He would have made crazy
that's
amounts of money anywhere.
Yeah, but UNC was one UNC, yeah, was one of his top team, right? But they don't have the
Mhm.
money. It's a state school. That's why Duke is doing well. UNC is struggling. Then look at the whole NIL has changed the whole NCAA teams, right? The SEC is doing well because they're football teams and they have the most money. Harvard is going to be doing well really, really soon. Look at like almost 2,000 people entered the transfer portal this year. It is crazy. Like the good teams, the so-called blue blood teams of before, they're not even getting talented players anymore.
Mm.
So it is the money.
Hmm. Okay. So at number 3, you pick Ace Bailey. I disagree,
Yes.
but I get your rationale. At number 4,
I like
I'm
VJ,
sorry
right?
to say,
Everybody loves VJ, right? But he hikes 6'3", and he doesn't have the body is not that buff, right? Like football body that you can look at what Cooper Flag did to him in the tournament. Like they were taking
mm,
him into the post, and he doesn't have the killer instinct where like, okay, let me take the game over. Is he very talented?
you do
Yes.
understand that Cade, sorry, that Cooper could literally do that to Jalen Green. He could do that to Cade Cunningham right now. He could do that to basically a lot of NBA guards. You know that, right? And Cooper's a
That
huge
is.
human being. He's 6'9" and he's really strong.
But if I'm drafting him for defensive because of the
Yeah, but
defense, right?
you're not drafting him to defend necessarily Jason Tatum. You're drafting him because he's quick twitch and he can guard guards. Like he can guard Tyrese Maxey. He can probably guard, a guy like Austin Reeves or someone like
So
that.
let's
He's
take
not
a
really.
step back. If you're the Raptors, you're picking three. Are you gonna pick VJ over over Ace Bailey?
I probably would think about it, but I would probably
Where
pick.
the where the guy Jacoby? We have so many guys. I'm not doing it.
Mm, I don't know, man. Okay, so next up, unfortunately, we have the New Orleans Pelicans, and this is where, unfortunately, Raptor fans are going to cry collectively because I'm taking Kaman Malawach for them. I don't think there's a chance in hell they're going to pass on him if he's there. He is exactly what they value in the draft. They love length, they love defense, they love positional versatility. It
What of he's Missy?
doesn't matter. Even Misi and him can play together. Eve can play 4, and Kaman can play 5, and they can alternate. I don't think, you know, again, like the only other option here is probably VJ, but and they haven't shied away from more of an undersized guard prototype before. Like they picked Jordan Hawkins. He didn't really measure great. He didn't have a huge wingspan. So they've shown that they're willing to do it. But I just think when they picked Jordan, there wasn't a Kaman Malawach sized defender on the court. I feel like I'm pretty in sync. The prospects that I love are the same prospects that David Griffin loves. Every year he picks my favorite prospect in the draft. He picked Dyson Daniels. I had Dyson number 4 on my board in 2022, above Jaden Ivey, above Keegan Murray, and everyone thought I was crazy. And I would have picked him at 4 for the Sacramento Kings. And who ends up picking him at 8? David Griffin. I had Jordan
Don't be
Hawkins.
surprised if they go Derek Queen.
I don't think so. I think this is a Kaman Malawach pick right here. Number 5, you are on the board with the Philadelphia 76ers. Kaman is off the board. Ace is off the board. Who are you going with, number 5?
Damn, just I'll go with Derek Queen.
Okay, so another big goes off the board, and this sucks for the Raptors and the Brooklyn Nets, who just lost their biggest targets. Number 6, you are now the Brooklyn Nets. Now, who are you picking?
You're picking next. You pick.
I'm picking next for the Brooklyn Nets. Shit. Okay, so I mean, there's a few places they could go. I would like them to pick probably between VJ and Con Knipple, and I'm going to go with VJ Edgecombe. They don't really have a player like him on their roster. I think he pairs really well with what they're trying to do. Obviously, this isn't the lottery luck they were hoping for. They were obviously hoping to move into the top 3 to grab somebody else. But I think here you roll the dice and you grab VJ Edgecombe at number 6. Wait a second. Did we screw up the draft order? How the hell did you get the Raptors? Okay, you're picking for the Raptors next. I hate this.
No, you said I should take number 1. I'll trade down.
Okay. Okay.
You pick for the Raptors. I want you to pick for. If
Okay.
you're not picking, don't pick at Brian. If you're picking at Brian, and I'm picking for the Raptors, because for me to pick at Brian, I'm trading down.
So I'm very, very tempted to pick Con Knipple here. A lot of reasons. A lot of reasons. So I'll tell you who I like and don't like in this range. Where the hell are we here? Okay, where the hell is Carter Bryant? He's at 21. So I'd have to go way off the board to pick him. I love Carter Bryant here. I do like Noah Singh. I think, you know, his 3-point shooting has been really promising. I think Ben Seraph is great. I wouldn't touch Liam McNeely with a 10-foot pole, which probably means the Raptors are going to draft him, but I wouldn't touch him. I don't like him at all. Colin Murray Boyles might become the best defender in this draft, not named Cooper Flag. Asa Newell, not my favorite prospect at all. I probably have him ranked not 11. I probably have him ranked closer to like 17, 18. Jeremiah Fears, really interesting for me. Like the upside on him, the twitch, the athleticism, the ball handling. He might be the best ball handler in the draft, frankly. He is
That's true.
really tight with the handle. His reads are sometimes erratic. He can be a little bit turnover prone. He gets into the air, sometimes doesn't have a great plan. I wonder if a guard whisperer like Darko Rajakovic could literally turn him into an all-star. He is one of the youngest players in the draft. He's still 18 years old. Given the fact that he's 18, he is so impressive what he did this year for the Oklahoma Sooners. I am very tempted to go Jeremiah Fears here, but there's a part of me that's just like, you know what? I got to go with the player that works. And I'm really telling you right now, it's a coin toss between Con Knipple and Jeremiah Fears. I'm not considering Kasparas Yakuchonis here. I am a little bit low on his self-generation. I think as much as you might doubt Con Knipple's athleticism and burst, I think he showed an ability with his low center of gravity and basketball craft to find his shot. He's
If I
also the
get
best
Connor,
shooter.
I'm trading Grady.
I don't think you need to trade them. They're very different players. They're extremely different players. God is a very, very different player than Grady. Like his self-initiation, his physical profile.
The game has already slowed down for him.
Oh, the game is so damn slow for him, man. Like he is seeing the game at like a 10-year vet's like level. And he is just everything is super like calm with him. I never feel panicked when he gets the ball. I know he's always going to make a great decision. He's a really good passer. I think he might be a good positional defender. I know he's not going to be a great defender at the NBA level, and maybe that concerns you a little bit because there are players on the court that have significant defensive upside. But he could be, in theory, you know, we're looking at players breaking that 303 mark across the league. Anthony Edwards this year, Steph Curry, seen players like Malik Beasley flirting with it. This is a guy who's going to break the 303 mark a lot if he becomes a starter. He is a lights out shooter. I see a little bit of Klay Thompson in him. I don't know if you see it, but I see a little bit of Klay Thompson in him.
He is. I really like him, but I don't know if
I see like Klay Thompson mixed with Austin Reeves because he's got passing chops that I don't think Klay has. So I'm picking between him and Jeremiah Fears, and honestly, I'm gonna pick him. I don't feel great about it. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna trade this pick. I'm gonna trade this pick for 2 picks.
I told you that I was gonna be if like the 4 guys I really want top is Malawash, Ace Bailey, Harper, or Copper Flag. If not, I'd like to trade them.
Okay. What's the team with 2 draft picks? Was it Brooklyn?
The Brooklyn Nets and Brooklyn Nets, the Spurs.
Okay, I'm gonna trade the pick. Okay, so I want to trade that, and I want to trade with. You said the Spurs?
Yeah.
Nah, the Spurs is just moving 1 down. The Brooklyn Nets, they have shit. How many picks do they have? They have 19th. No, they're too low. Chicago, they have 12th.
Then the Wizards have already picked.
Atlanta has 13 and 26. That could be interesting. Miami has 11 and 20. This is perfect. Yeah, this is perfect. So I'm going to trade away the 7th pick, and they're going to give me 11 and 20. Is that a fair deal to move up 4 spots?
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty fair deal. Would I have to give them 39 as well? Feels like I might have to. Now, fuck it. No,
I'll do the trade. I'll give the.
we're gonna make that trade. Okay, so now I'm on the clock for the Miami Heat, and my job just became 100 times easier. I'm picking Con Knueppel for the Miami Heat. Boom.
They
Okay.
don't have a. Do they have a point guard? Miami, they don't have a real point guard, right? So I'll take Jeremiah Fears from Miami.
I think they've shown more of a propensity to make this type of pick. Like, he has a lot in common with guys like Bam Adebayo and Jaime Jaquez, and you know, like, they have their center of the future in Kalel, where I think they can find a point guard somewhere. Maybe they're really high on Davion Mitchell. I don't know, but I don't think they have necessarily the patience to wait on a project like Jeremiah Fears, and I think they also have shown that they care about the floor of a prospect as much as the ceiling.
That's true.
And here, I think you're getting a prospect with an incredibly high floor.
Yeah.
Incredibly high floor. And so, you know, you have your small forward of the future. You just replaced Jimmy Butler. Like, I'm not saying you replaced Jimmy Butler, but like, you've replaced the player that would be starting in place of Jimmy Butler. You know what I mean? So you would have a starting. I mean, ironically, you have a starting five that's pretty white now. You have Tyler Hero, Con Knueppel, and possibly Nikola Jovic down the line with Bam Adebayo, and you know, you'll figure out the point guard maybe through free agency or through trade. We'll see. Yeah. Okay.
So,
Number
so what
8.
am I
You're on the
picking?
clock for the San Antonio Spurs. Who are you picking?
The Kankanepo would have been a great pick there. I'm picking. Let's see. I'm going with Trey Johnson.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think this is
They
a
got
perfect
two.
place for him.
They got 2 point guards already.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about Trey Johnson? I mean, like, they do have Devin Vassell, they do have Keldon Johnson, and now they're adding Trey Johnson to this mix. So it's a little
I
bit
think that
convoluted.
I think they're trying to trade Devin Johnson with his 20 million contract.
Yeah. I think, to be completely frank, I think that this is a type of pick that maybe signals another trade. But I also think
Yeah.
they could easily also go Colin Murray Boyles here.
Oh
Easily.
yeah. I think that would be a better pick for them because they
You
already
want to
got all the firepower. I'll change my pick to come CMB.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna undo this.
Yeah, I think
And
that's a better pick for them.
but I
Way
mean,
better pick.
okay, so wait, they got Colin Murray Boyles and they're gonna play Jeremy Sohan. Is there not too much of an overlap? You know who I actually think they would go with here? I think they'd be picking between Jeremiah Fears, Trey Johnson, and maybe Yegor Demon. I think this might be Yegor Demon country because having a tall playmaker who has positional versatility. Granted, Greg Popovich had a stroke, but he's not dead. Like, he's there. He's literally like still involved, right? So even though he's not on the sideline, RC
But
Buford,
they
don't
have
they
another
value
pick.
they value big playmakers, man. And Yegor Demon might be the best passer in this draft. So I think
Don't they have another pick in the just right after the lottery? They have to. I thought
they might.
I
Yeah, I
thought
think they do. Okay,
The
so
Atlanta pick is the Atlanta pick is going to them.
I think honestly, I think they do go Trey Johnson here. I think you were right on your first instinct, but do you still want to change it to Colin Murray Boyles?
No, I'll leave Trey Johnson.
Okay, cool. Okay, so with the 8th pick in the NBA draft, the San Antonio Spurs draft Trey Johnson, and now 9th is up on the board. This is a team who has a
Rockets.
lot of talent and a lot of depth and a lot of talent everywhere. They have talent at center, power forward, small forward, shooting guard, and point guard, and yet they're not very good. And so right now, they're just going to go with, you know, Colin Murray Boyles probably gets in the way a little bit
Which
with
team is
Toumani
that?
Camara and, you know, players they already have. I think they could go Jeremiah Fears, but doesn't he have so much in common with Scoot Henderson? Could this be Kasparas Yakuchona's territory? Could this be
I
the
think
Invictus?
I think they'll go Fears. Scoot can really shoot. Chauncey Billup with point guards.
This might sound crazy, but I think they might go Noah Assange here. Assange. My bad. I don't know why I call him Assange. Noah Assange. I think this could be Noah Assange, Thomas Sorber, Rasheer Fleming, Kasparas Yakuchonis. I think they go a lot of different ways. How about Asa Newell here? Doesn't that kind of make sense next to what they already have, given how much they prioritize length and size
and defense.
and defense, right?
I think it's a new is a good pick there.
Okay, Ace Newell goes to the Portland Trailblazers, which means Kasparas Yakuchonis and Jeremiah Fears are the players who are falling, but not for long, because the Houston Rockets are on the clock. Who's your pick?
That pick is going back to it's going to Phoenix for Kevin Durant. He's going back to Phoenix.
It's going to Phoenix?
Yeah. The pick is the pick is originally from Phoenix Suns, right? So I think that they're gonna trade the pick back to Phoenix Suns for Kevin Durant.
Okay, but for now, they're gonna make the pick for themselves, assuming that KD trade is not happening. But let's just say, okay, you want to make this trade for Phoenix? So okay, so let's pretend Phoenix is making this.
If Phoenix is making this, I'll go Jeremiah Fears.
That makes sense. They don't have a player here. Jeremiah Fears makes sense. Jeremiah Fears to the Phoenix Suns. Next on the clock, the Toronto Raptors. Oh yeah. Okay. With the 11th pick, damn. Colin Murray-Boyles is right there. Kasparas Yakuchonis right there. Jaeger Demon right
I think
there.
I can reach for Bryant here.
I am so damn tempted to go with him.
I'll reach for him.
I could also see us going with Noah Assange here. I could also see us going with. I can't see us picking Nolan Traore. Man, if we pick Colin Murray-Boyles and we put Scottie Barnes, Jonathan Mogbo, and Colin Murray-Boyles on the court together, I might lose my mind. Like that's a lot of weirdness, man. That's like three players who are so similar.
That's my problem with the CMB. That is just it's like positional. It's not fit for the Raptors.
But the Raptors never pick for fit. They always pick for, So okay, I'm gonna go off the board here a little bit, and I'm gonna pick Carter Bryant. And you can flame me after, but I'm picking Carter Bryant. I'm high enough on him that I'm willing to take him at number 11. And so the Raptors draft him at number 11.
I reach for him. I don't mind.
Number 12, very simple pick for
who's picking 12?
The Chicago Bulls. Hometown kid. Well, not hometown kid, but yeah, they're gonna go Kasparas Yakuchonis. This feels like the right place for him. They're also pairing Matas Buzelis with Kasparas Yakuchonis, kind of like a full circle moment for the two Lithuanian guys. Number 13, the Atlanta Hawks, and I think this is also pretty obvious. This is for me. I'm going Colin Murray-Boyles here. Makes a lot of sense. They get to stockpile more defense around Trae Young. They get to pair possibly the second best defender in this draft, outside of Cooper Flagg and Kaman Malawach, and Colin Murray-Boyles, with what is already an incredible defensive team. Zachary Sachet, potential defender. Dyson Daniels, my pick for top 3 in defensive player of the years this year. Plus, you got Jalen Johnson, who's a fantastic defender. I think they're building a hell of a team. Onyeka Okongwu is more a theory defender at this point. Dallas Mavericks at number 14. Where are they going?
They need a point guard. They really do. I think I'll go with Ego Demi. I'm not a big fan, but they need a point guard. Don't try rebound.
I think he could really pop for them, man. I think he could be really good. Okay, with the 15th pick, the San Antonio Spurs are going to select. It's going to be one of two players. It's going to be either Nolan Traore or Noah Assange.
I think they're going to trade one of their picks. They'll likely want vets to start winning.
What if we traded them? Nah. Okay, we're going to make this trade for them. We're going to make this pick for them, and they are going to pick Liam McNeely or Nolan Traore. I can't pick. I'm going to say, could they go off the board?
They might go Thomas Saba, get a big man to play with.
So here's a few names that stick out for me if I'm a San Antonio Spurs. Danny Wolf,
Hugo
Gonzalez, Thomas Sorber, Rasheer Fleming, Noah Assange, Ben Seraph, Jace Richardson.
I think they'll go with Thomas Silva to have a big man with so that this guy can play power
Do you
forward.
think that there would be any interest in pairing their French superstar with another French player? Do you think that matters at all to them? Would that go into their thinking at all?
The pair who, sorry?
Their French superstar, Victor Wembanyama, with one of the two French players who are currently available, which is to say Noah Assange or Nolan Traore.
I think they already have two small point guards, right? So I think they already have 2 point guards, not small point guys. So I think they need a center.
You know what's interesting? Nolan Traore, I don't agree with this comparison at all, has been compared to Tony Parker. And Ben Seraph has been compared to Manu Ginobili. Is there some institutional memory of how much those two players meant to the programs? I don't know. I could see them also going Ian Jackson, Noah Penda. Like, there's a lot of places. This is not a team that has cared very much about. I don't think this is a team that has cared very much. I could also see them going totally off the board with Yaxel Lendeborg. Like, I could totally see that. Like, that's the weirdest shit. Like, there's like 17 different players I could see them going with here. I'm going to place. Do they have a lot of shooting? They don't. They would have to really believe in Liam McNeely to take him here. I'm going to say Jace Richardson.
Oh yeah, that's a good pick. That's a good
I'm going to say
pick.
Jace Richardson. If I'm San Antonio, I think they're going to go Jace Richardson here. Really good young player. It'll depend on the measurements a little bit, but I think they can work with him. I think they have plenty of size.
It's like 6'3".
Yeah, who knows? Okay, so Jace Richardson's off the board. Now it's the Orlando Magic.
Orlando Magic. Let me see who is on the board.
Liam McNeely, shooter.
I'm going with Liam McNeely. They need shooter.
They need shooting. He's a shooter.
Rasha Fleming is also good. Just for the percent. But I'm good with my pick.
I think the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to pick Rasheer Fleming. I think this makes a lot of sense for them. They could also go Thomas Sorber. They could also go. I don't think they picked Nolan Traore after picking Rob Dillingham last year.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know if they'd pick Ben Seraph. Noah Assange, kind of like, how high are they on the developmental players? So Josh Minot, they have Terrence Shannon Jr. They have a lot of these young players. Could they potentially be looking? I think they're going to pick Rasheer Fleming here. So I go Rasheer Fleming at number 17 to the Minnesota Timberwolves. All right. You are up next with the Washington Wizards. Where are they going? Please note, they have some French shit going on there. They got Alex Sarr. They got Bilal Coulibaly. You want to make it 3?
I'll go with Noah Assange, French too.
Okay, Noah Assange goes to the Wizards. This makes a lot of sense. I think they hit one draft pick out of the ballpark last year, and that was Keyshawn George. I think he's been great for them. Jury's still out on Bob Carrington. A lot of high volume, low efficiency shit, but I like some of the stuff that I see in the mid range. Alex Sarr's flashed a lot of good signs. That is an organization that I am very high on right now, weirdly enough. I didn't expect to be saying that because they do employ Jordan Poole, who is like the antithesis of good basketball, but they do have some vets in the room now. I like the addition. I like the removal of Kyle Kuzma because I think he's a freaking goof. And I like the idea that bringing in, someone like Chris Middleton brings in another adult into the locker room. Plus, you got Marcus Smart there. Plus, at least for now, I don't know if he'll be there next year, but you've got someone like Malcolm Brogdon. So I think it's just like, generally speaking, the development is on track with them. Okay, now you got the Brooklyn Nets, number 19. I feel like, is this where the Nolan Traore stops? I think like this is where his slide stops, and I think
I think so too. Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah. Okay, so you're picking him at number 19, and I have number 20, and I am very happy I made that trade now. Great, because I'm going to get a player that I really like here. Now, here's where I'm thinking. I'm thinking between 4 players. Can you guess who those 4 players are?
Danny Wolf.
Uh-huh.
Let me see. I'm looking at the. Keep going down. Thomas Saba.
Yep.
Keep going. Go up a little bit.
Okay, I'm just gonna go real slow. Okay.
Cool. Hugo Gonzalez.
Mm-hmm.
Will Riley.
Interesting, yeah. I think Alex Caravan really makes a lot of sense. This might be a little too early for him. I think JT Toppin is out of this draft. I'm pretty sure he dropped out. So pretty sure. I'm 90% sure he dropped out. Walter Clayton.
Oh yeah, what about the Clayton? What the Clayton?
I don't know if I take him this high. Ryan Kalkbrenner, this might be a little bit too high for him. Okay, so I am actually really torn. So I like Thomas Sorber a lot. I think he fits extremely well. Athleticism concerns me a little bit, but I just think he bulked up a little too much and he could probably stand to lose a little bit of weight. Shooting form is promising. There is upside here. I really liked the personal check that I did on him. I think, everything checks out from a character perspective on Thomas Sorber. Great kid, fantastic hands, really decent defender, given his limitations. I think he would learn really well. The fact that we picked Carter Bryant with the first pick, going Thomas Sorber here, getting someone who, can kind of grow with him. I think you get two extremely high upside rotation players here. Neither of whom are going to necessarily come in and start for you next year or give you huge minutes, but both of whom can kind of grow in your program and become really high IQ players.
Is this guy still on the board? Hugo Gonzalez.
Hugo is on the board.
I think that would be my side pick. You saw Masai and then the GM of Brooklyn scouting him 2 weeks ago, a week ago.
Hugo is really interesting. His decision making can sometimes be a little concerning. I do think his athleticism and his shift and his propensity to attack the rim is very appetizing, and probably more so for a team that doesn't really have that player on our team currently. It is probably a really high upside pick. I think we can go with that. You think they would go with Hugo Gonzalez here?
I think so. You're going with somebody, a project that has very high upside.
And he's 18. So yeah, I mean, like, he's an 18-year-old professional basketball player. He actually does have sneaky all-star potential. I think between him and Ben Seraph, like, I think there's really something there between one of them. I just hope you pick the right one, right? So, okay, we go Hugo Gonzalez at number 20. Let's do these next ones pretty quickly. You're on the board, 21. Utah Jazz. Where are they going?
Oh God, Utah Jazz. They don't know what they're doing there. I'll go with Thomas Saba.
Okay, good pick. The Jazz get Thomas Sorber out of Georgetown at 21. At 22, the Indiana Pacers, who have a lot of point guards on their roster,
I think they're going
to go Danny Wolf.
They're
going to go with Danny Wolf. Danny Wolf is going to end up in either Indiana. I know how their organization thinks very well. I've had a lot of insight into the organization over the last few years. So I think they go Danny Wolf. Number 23, the Orlando Magic are on the board. And unfortunately, Danny Wolf is off the board for them. They probably would have taken him. Who is going number 23? It's slim pickings now, but you still got Ben Seraph. Still got Boogie Fland.
I'll go with Ben Seraph. I'll go with Ben Seraph.
Okay. Number 24, the OKC Thunder. Who is the most OKC type of player here? There's a lot of OKC type players here. For me, Janai Broom is not an OKC type player. Noah Penda he is potentially. JT Toppin, I believe, has dropped out. Dig Pate is probably not going here. OKC, they do have some serious guard depth.
Nick Clifford.
I think Nick Clifford makes a lot of sense for them. Yeah. Okay. You're on the board next with the Brooklyn Nets. They have already picked VJ Edgecombe. They have already picked Nolan Traore. Are they going front court now, or are they going to add more to their backcourt?
I'll go with Will Riley.
Okay. They are going for upside to the extreme here. Is Will Riley Canadian?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay. Yeah, so they go 25th. They go 26th. With the 26th pick, we have the Atlanta Hawks, and they are going with.
Who's their backup point guy?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they have shown. I mean, they've got a lot of wings. I think they could use a guard here. I think they're going to go with LeBaron Philon. I mean, I don't know how they feel about Kobe Buffkin right now, but this is some insurance. They do have Keaton Wallace, Cason Wallace's brother. He is there. So I don't know how they feel about it, but LeBaron Philon makes it. Boogie Fland remains on the board. Number 27, the Brooklyn Nets with their 4th pick in the first round, and they are picking.
Yeah, they already got point guys. Can you scroll down a little bit? I'll go with Johnny Broom.
Janai Broom.
I
could see that. I mean,
he's not going to drop out Boston Celtics. He's not going to.
Janai Broom for the Boston Celtics would be interesting. Okay, now the Boston Celtics, they are going to probably pick between Alex Caravan or Adu, Tiro, or Boogie Fland. I don't think they're picking Boogie Fland. I think Boogie Fland is going to fall to the second round. So I'm going to go with Alex Caravan here. I think it just makes a lot of sense. It's not just because he's a white guy and this is the Boston Celtics. Okay, just don't come at me with that. Okay, number 29, the Phoenix Suns, who already
got a point guard. Yeah, they already got a point guard. Mm-hmm.
Yes, they picked Jeremiah Fears as part of the Kevin Durant trade, apparently. So now they have a chance to add to their young core, which now includes Ryan Dunn and Osho Ighodaro. So does Noah Penda make sense here?
He does. I like him there.
Yeah. Okay, Noah Penda goes to 29. And the final pick will be the LA Clippers, who will take who fits.
Tyrese Porter, Boogie Fland.
I am gonna go with
Tyrese Porter.
No.
This guy, Walter Clayton Jr. Clayton Jr.
There we go. I'm going with Walter Clayton. There's our first round mock. The Toronto Raptors trade, controversially, of course, the number 7 pick, which would have been Con Knipple or Trey Johnson, and they trade back to get Carter Bryant plus Hugo Gonzalez. A trade that I am perfectly happy with.
That's a good. That would be a great draft for us. Great draft.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see if it works out something like this. I obviously am pushing a lot of Carter Bryant propaganda right now, but naturally, like I got to do a little bit more digging into Ben Seraph. Scroll back about 55 minutes in this, and I take you through everything that I love about him. I like a lot about him. Anyways, I think it's just a super athlete. I want athletes around Scottie and Brandon Ingram. I want size. I'm tired of being small. I don't want any more positional overlap too much. Like, with Grady being sort of slight of frame, with, Ochai being a little bit undersized for the 3. I just feel like we're consistently small. And I sort of miss that OG Anunoby, Scottie Barnes, Pascal Siakam, Jakob Poeltl lineup where we were just positionally huge. And I just know that Scottie does better in bigger lineups, right?
And that's why I'm not a VJ fan, honestly speaking.
I mean, Scottie also does really well with athletes and good defenders. So, I mean, like, on the one hand, yeah, like, I get it. Maybe picking 3 or 4 might be a little bit tough because just, it's a couple inches.
I think the combine is going to tell a lot, right? If he's 6'4", 6'5", then...
He's 6'5", bro. I watch him a lot. He's not 6'5".
I watch him a lot. It's closer to 6'2" than 6'4", to be honest. I watch him, yeah, and I don't think he has a long wingspan, right?
It's about 6'6".
Yeah.
6'6" wingspan. So, yeah, I mean, look, in the second round, based on all the players that are available, I don't know, like, who might be available for us. There's a lot of players that are still available, right? from
I
there.
think
So
I hope Tyrese Proto falls to us at 39.
it could, we could also, if we went guard, wing, we can go big. We could easily get Ryan Cockbrenner. I think that's a way, 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 way better bet on upside than Brandon Carlson was last year.
But one of these guys from Stanford, this French guy, the big man, I really like him. I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Mm-hmm.
He averaged 2010 this year, the French guy.
Yeah, Jay saying, Penn, why use the box score to say Lowry is better than Tony Parker, but when someone said Cade is better than Scottie, you stop box score watching? Hypocrite. Did I do that? Hang on. I was listening to something from Napoleon Hill the other day, which said some things don't warrant a reaction. Like just in general, like you shouldn't give everything a reaction. So, but I do want to give this a reaction because
Mhm.
I just think maybe it's worth talking about here. Okay, so here is Scottie Barnes on his career versus Cade Cunningham on his career. See that little nice little number there? That's box plus minus. Scottie is higher. You see that little value replacement number? Scottie is higher. You can say he played more games, but I'll say that's part of his availability. In terms of your per 100 possessions, 2-point percentage, Scottie higher. 3-point percentage, Cade higher by 3%. 4%? Okay, cool. Rebounds, Scottie's higher. Usage, Cade is way higher. Turnovers, Cade is almost doubling him. Points, you're comparing a 21.6 point per game score, per 100 possession score, who takes 26.7 shots versus a guy who scores 24.4. So again, I ask you, one guy was the first option from day one. The other guy had to work into first option. If we isolate this, let's break this down to since Scottie became the man, right? So if we go Cade Cunningham year 3, year 3, okay, year 1 to year 4, because those are his reps as the man. And Scottie's reps as the man are 3 to 4. I think that's fair. Scottie was like the 4th, 5th option. So here are their numbers as the man. Okay. These are Scottie's numbers as the man. 27.7 points per 100 possessions versus 31.6. It's a gap. It's not a huge fucking gap. He's also shooting better from 2. The 3-point gap is not enormous. The free throw gap is big. I'll give you that. Rebounds in favor of Scottie. Assists are damn near neck and neck. 10.5 versus 8.4. Scottie leads on blocks, steals, fewer turnovers. Advanced data says Scottie's better. 3.0 boxes minus versus 0.9. What about the value of replacement? Now, this is the fun one. Scottie has played 4,192 minutes. Cade has played 7,000 minutes, and they have an identical value of replacement. Now what? Now what you got to say about availability? Nothing, you dummy. But Cade is better now. He's better in the moment. He's playing better right now. He's also got a much better context. I don't get this, man. So there are the numbers. Over the last 2 years, Scottie has played 3,000 fewer minutes and has the same value replacement. What do you got to say? Maybe the numbers are biased. I mean, let's not even forget that the exact same analytics that are telling you that Scottie Barnes is better than Cade Cunningham are the same analytics that tell you that Luka Doncic is great, that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is great, that Nikola Jokic is great. So the archetype is right there. There's not a biased archetype. It's not a biased stat. People just get so gassed up on fucking numbers. They completely miss the context. If I tell you a guy in the same role, Scottie is the first option. He's been the first option. He may not be the leading scorer, but he is the most guarded player on this team. He's being guarded more than RJ Barrett. Until Brandon Ingram steps on the court, he is the guy that defenses plan for. Double, stop. Shit. You are biased. You're not? At least I'm biased and smart. You're biased and dumb. That's worse. It's much worse to be biased and dumb. It's a bad combination. It's a bad cocktail.
Do you think we're going to have Scottie, RJ, IQ, and BI next season?
Pardon?
Do you think we're going to have all 4 of them next season with the salary?
What do you mean?
With the salary cap, right? Like if we get to top 4 pick, then we're likely going to go over the cap.
I think we'll make some trades. Okay, here. This person wants to argue that I'm using all 4 years of Cade, and that's not fair, even though Cade has had the ball all 4 years. Okay, here, just the last 2 years. Guess what? Scottie has played fewer minutes. Scottie has a higher value of replacement. You dumbass. He's played 300 fewer minutes, and he has a higher value of replacement. He's played 300 fewer minutes, and he has a higher box plus minus. By the way, 2-point percentage. Scottie's still better. What does this say? What is this telling you? That Cade is significantly better. Yeah, Cade's a better scorer. That's it. That's all. That's all I'm going to say. He's not a better passer. He's not a better defender. Not a better rebounder. He's not better at anything else. Just scared. You were so emotional. Who raised you? My parents. Blame them. You suck. All right, get out of here. All right. So, I mean, look, it's cool. Emotions make you human, Jay. Who raised you? I agree. Human, I don't know. What are your thoughts on this season? How did the season roll out for you? Any players that really surprised you? Any players that really disappointed you?
I guess we can go. Jacoporto surprised me. I think he really, really played well this season.
Mhm.
Impacted the game in a lot of ways, especially towards the end, right? Yeah, that's one. If I want to go, Scottie Barnes, defense improved a lot, but it took a step back offensively. But the mid range came up really, really well. I think it should focus more on his strength. I know the 3-pointer that he shot 27%, right? From with all the hand injury and everything, I think they should have rested him when he had that injury. But I know Scottie wants to play. Instead of making him play through the injury, and sometimes, right, when you start missing shots, it can affect your confidence. And shooting is also confidence, right? So, but there's a lot of upside there. But the defense is really, really impressive. I think Brandon Ingram is going to open his game up a lot. But I really want them to bring all of them to see what we got first, because you don't have to trade at the beginning of the season. You can always trade midway. RJ.
Can I play devil's advocate?
Yeah.
If you play them all and it doesn't work, now you're stuck. More importantly, you also have a pretty sizable, well, I don't want to say pretty sizable, but you have a luxury tax bill. Say you bring back Boucher, right? Say you bring back Boucher, say you pick sevens. Say you sign your second round pick, your 39th overall pick to the same deal that Jonathan Mogbo and Jamal Shead got. Let's say you cut AJ Lawson. Let's say you convert Ulrich to the same deal again. So you pack the end of your roster with really cheap guys. Even if you bring Boucher back on a minimum, you're over the luxury tax line.
But the cap is going up 10%, right?
Yeah, I'm factoring that in.
Oh, you factored that in already?
It's just because the starting lineup is so expensive. And I mean, by the way, it would be so much more expensive if Scottie was getting the Supermax. Like, you would have to trade either RJ or Yak or Emmanuel Quickly if Scottie had qualified for the Supermax. So people really need to thank God that Scottie has no chance at that Supermax right now. Like, I think people really don't understand what a favor that is, because that's like $8 million off your books every year for the next 5 years. That's nuts.
Yeah, speaking of Supermax too, I think it's high time players needs to stop complaining if you have the Supermax and you don't have a good team around you. You look at Denver Nuggets too, right? The Spurs, for them to win, I know that back in the day, they all took some form of pay cuts. Duncan, Ginobili, Tony Parker. Quite didn't want to take a pay cut, right? That messed up all the relationship. They took some form of pay cut because they value winning. If you're going to be making like 80 million and you don't have a team around you, then hello, it's hard cap. Deal with it, which is good.
I don't know. I think for me, it's really hard for me to get behind any movement that pushes for millionaires to help billionaires make billions. Like, that just feels weird to me.
No, but
because Lord knows when these guys sell their team, they ain't splitting it with the players. So all those little, help me bullshit. Like, it's
But they're
always
not
billionaires
helping
doing this.
anybody, right? The cap is the cap. The players are still making 51% of the money. So the players are still getting their money, and a lot of those stars they get a lot of money from endorsements. So if you want to be making 80 million and they can't get good players around you, then so be it. Then just be okay with not winning championships. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's tough, but you either want to win or you want to make the money. So pick your poison.
I mean, you can win and make money. Look, Jason Tatum just made a lot of money last year. Jaylen Brown just made a lot of money last year, and they
They
won.
got lucky, but they're gonna be hard cap soon. Trust me. That
Nikola Jokic was a max player when he won. Giannis was a max player when he won. Kobe was a max player when he won.
yeah,
Shaq
but
was a max player when he won.
Nicola
Kevin
won,
Garnett was a
right?
max player when he won. You want me to keep going? Michael Jordan made
Yeah,
$30 million
no,
last year.
it won. Nikola Jokic won, but they couldn't bring this guy back. They couldn't
Bruce
bring
Brown.
KCP and Bruce Brown back.
Okay, but that's an organization. Do you know how much? Do you know how much the Cronkies are worth? Why should Nikola Jokic help them out? They are billionaires. They
I know,
own like 5
but
sports franchises. Why does he have to help them?
it's business, right? If you go over the cap, then you pay this astronomical
Bro,
amount in luxury tax.
They cheap out
They're
on
cheap.
management.
I agree. They're cheap, but it's
They
business.
cheaped out on Tim Conley. They cheaped out on Masai Ujiri.
Why did they trade? Why did they trade Luka? Because they didn't want to pay him, right?
Well, totally different organization, but yeah, they traded Luka because they're out to lunch and they're insane. But maybe because they had concerns about him regressing.
And they don't want to pay him. They don't want to pay him that supermax, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's north of a $300 million commitment. It's a lot of money, and it is like if he goes the wrong way, if he becomes like unplayable or some shit like that, but it's not going to happen. He loves basketball too much. People are so stupid. Anyways, I think.
then back to the grading, right? IQ improved in stock towards the end of the season, but if I'm going to trade anybody, I think it's IQ. I don't know if anybody will want to trade him now. But the good news is that his salary is flat, so it's going to age well with the cap space, with the cap. Then where's the O'Shea showed 3D upside. I want him to at least work on his handle. He needs to develop more than just shooting the ball and defending. Jacoby is very, very promising, very, very promising, but I worry about the injuries too.
Right.
Grady Dick, the game is still too fast for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he needs to and he also needs to get stronger and work on his defense. Jamal Shead, very impressive. You can see his 3-point shooting how he improved from the beginning of the season to obviously didn't close the season very well.
Right.
Jamison Battle, that's all I can say. Is a warrior. He's shot over 40% from 3.
Right.
Jonathan Mogbo, he needs to learn how to score around the rim. He really, or if anything, all he needs to do this summer is just work on his rim scoring, his spent scoring, and his probably shooting. He has other things. He can play really good defense. He can handle the ball, but I don't know. His scoring around the rim is really, really, really bad. But
I think it got better progressively. Okay, now here's something really shocking. The Raptors over the last 10 games, granted, they've played some pretty awful teams. This is this is not Jonathan Mogbo's. Sorry, this is Emmanuel Quickly. You said he turned his season around. Boy, did he ever. 6.2 box plus minus over the last 10 games. Dude.
What was it earlier?
Earlier in the season, he was close to 0.41. He was hovering in that range.
It was obvious, right? Even though when I was complaining that they're playing him when we're supposed to be tanking, but you can see the improvement. But
hey,
he's not a playmaker.
Even the last 23 games, he was 3.3 boxes minus. That's like, I mean, honestly, dude, that's like 3.3 is like the same as Cade. Okay, like 58% true shooting. That's pretty good. Like these are great numbers. I mean, granted, context is required. This is a really positive stretch. If we include everything after his injury was incredible. 3.7 boxes minus. That started with the loss at Chicago. The Raptors were 11-13, so pretty much a 500 team when he played. This is encouraging. Like I don't know. Like this is very encouraging. So this is a very encouraging stretch.
If we have next year with BI, I think IQ needs to play off the ball because he's not a playmaker.
I mean, I'm showing you his numbers over a really large sample where he did kind of play a more prime playmaking role, and I'd say like he did pretty well. He had one really bad game against Boston, fair.
Yeah, but
the
really
bad game against Cleveland.
Playmaking role, right? It's kind of deceiving too because it was how Van Vliet was playmaking with Jacopordo, right? Most of those passes were to Jacopordo in the paint.
So his worst games came against the Lakers, Celtics, Orlando, and Cleveland, and OKC, and Milwaukee. So it is really, and Cleveland and Orlando.
So we get lucky. We get lucky. We draft Cooper Flag. Who goes to the bench?
What do you mean?
And if you draft
RJ,
Cooper Flag,
clearly.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the thing. So I think that it's worth noting that his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 worst performances came against teams with a lot of size and length.
Exactly. That's why I want size.
And they're all losses except for the one against Orlando. So the Raptors went as he went, man. Like, I mean, honestly, like if he played poorly, not only did he shoot crap from the field, not only did he play pretty poorly off, defensively, but he also like really just like we just lost. So
I think with Brandon Ingram, it's going to be a different team, to be honest with you, if he's healthy and
for sure.
He's a really prolific scorer. He's that good.
I do want to see Scottie's goggle stretch. Now, when Scottie came back after that injury against Denver, this stretch right here.
I think with Scottie, they need to save him from himself, hopefully next season. When he gets hurt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let him heal completely before rushing him back, like 1 or 2 games, right? If you leave players, right, they're gonna want to play. Well, like when he comes back after injury, you can see him struggling, but still wants to play through the injury.
Mm-hmm. No, I can see that. But I mean, he looked really good with the goggles. Like I know there was like a little bit of an adjustment period, but he had some really dominant games, including a very dominant game against Detroit, a really dominant game against Cleveland, really good game against Minnesota. This was a tough part of our schedule. He had a great game at Miami, fantastic game at Dallas when they were still relatively, together and hadn't made
that injury was what turned the season around in a negative way, right?
The Denver game?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, his single game boxes minus in that game was pretty much his best, is one of his best of the season. 12.7. He was going crazy.
If Scottie wasn't hurt, would have been a playing team by now, or maybe playoffs possibly.
I mean, to the people who maybe forget and people who don't look at these numbers very deeply, if I include just the first, exclude that Cleveland game in the first, he had a horrible game, the worst game of the season, possibly the second or third worst game of the season. After that, the next 13 games, 13 game Bargnani, 13 game Scottie Barnes, 6.3 boxes minus, 57% true shooting. If he had put these numbers up on the season, he's all NBA 100%. This was primarily as a lead initiator, point guard. This was doing a lot of pick and roll stuff, a lot of mid-range stuff, high volume 3-point shooting. 3-point shooting still wasn't hitting, by the way. His 3-point shot was not hitting during the stretch.
The numbers also has to go with the team winning too, right? No matter the number, if you're not winning, you're not going to get all NBA.
I think if he plays like this all year, you probably do win a lot more games, man.
That's true. That's true, yeah.
Okay, so let's look at the second.
Because the all NBA stuff, people vote, right? And we're not very visible in the States compared to teams like the Lakers, the Warriors, and those teams that they show around the clock.
Yeah. So this next stretch of his season is the part that was really bad. And this is 31 games. Okay. 31 total games, which includes a huge losing streak. Brooklyn, Houston, New York, at Memphis. This is a huge losing streak, man. This is like 1, 2, oh my God. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 straight losses. Okay. Which started before Scottie came back. But at this point, we were sunk. We had, a terrible record. And I think the season just kind of got away from us. He struggled immensely during the stretch. I don't think that this stretch coincides with the hardest stretch that we had all year. We played some good teams, we played some bad teams. It didn't matter. Okay. His worst game during this stretch came against Houston. He really struggled there in terms of boxes minus, really struggled against New York, really thrived against Philly, really did a good job against Boston, had a good game against Brooklyn. Maybe that's not very encouraging that your best games came against the worst teams. And he had another good game against Boston. So he seemed to dial up against Tatum. Had a really good game winning the Raptors their first, if I'm not mistaken. No, this was the Pelicans. Okay. And so he had a good game against the Pelicans, really good game against Washington. So this is just like the worst part of his season. And then we look at chunk 3 of the season, which is this one here. Oh man. No, man. Why am I struggling with this? So, I mean, it's just like you look at the first chunk, it's good. You look at the second chunk, it's horrible. And then the third chunk is awesome. So he basically played his season in like 3 chunks. Wait a second. This is not great either. What? 10-9. Huh. So the bad continued until the last 10 games. Yeah. So I'm going to assume today's game, he's probably like a plus 16, 17 boxes minus. He's going to end the season like relatively sub all-star. Honestly, I think next year motivated, he's going to be like in the 6 to 7 range. And I think it's worth noting that the Raptors have been above 500 since January 13th. I think it's also worth noting that they've been one of the best defenses in the league over the last, 3 months. Yeah.
But that's also, the schedule is also weaker in the last 1 month, right? So
yeah, but that would make sense if some of those really, really good games didn't come against at Orlando. Utah is terrible. I agree. Portland, at Portland. I mean, there's a lot of size in Portland, man. San Antonio, okay, fine. I'll agree with you. Not the toughest competition. Who did his best games come against this year? Let's see. Best games came against Detroit. So at Detroit, playoff team. Spurs, without Wemby, okay, so not great. Denver, playoff team. Philly, not a playoff team. Atlanta, play-in team. Portland, not a playoff team. Charlotte, not a playoff team. Brooklyn, not a playoff team. Dallas, at the time, playoff team. Indiana, playoff team. Chicago, play-in team. Golden State Warriors, when you remember, I think he put up, like 27, 28-ish.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a playoff team. Orlando, play-in team. Philly, not. Utah, not. At Cleveland, playoff team, contender. Boston, contender. And his worst games came against Cleveland, Chicago, Houston, New Orleans, Phoenix, Portland, Philly, New York. There's not really a strong correlation. It's not like with Emmanuel Quickley where you're like, oh, all the worst games came against all the best teams. This is like a scattered bag. It's like, he could be good, he could be bad, it could be Boston, it could be Washington. It doesn't really I don't think there's a strong correlation at all in this data set. And historically, at least, I've noticed that he has his better games against better teams. But I don't know, man. I think this was a lost season. I feel like they kind of explained it to him very early that this was going to be this type of season. And I just don't think I don't want to hold this against him or frankly anybody on this team. I think this
do you think we're
organization.
gonna be tanking next year?
Hell no. I think everything. I don't think Scottie would. I don't think Scottie would sign up for 2 years of this. I think this was a 1-year thing.
Bobby's interview today says next year is going to be year 2 of the rebuild. But I think that's just to lower expectations.
Year 2 of the rebuild. I think because you're going to be implementing a second-year player like Jacoby, possibly a second-year player like Jonathan Mogbo. I don't know if Jonathan Mogbo is going to be part of the rotation, but let's assume he is. A third-year player like Grady, who presumably is still going to have some growing pains. And you're still building around a 24-year-old ascending star. I do think there's some element, and then not to mention you have a lottery pick who's 18, 19 years old coming in, and he's going to warrant some minutes. I do think there's some room for taking some losses for the sake of development, but I don't think it's going to be an outright, this is a rec league tryout, No, I don't think so.
I think it's going to be probably playing at the least because Eastern Conference is really weak.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be really hard to tank. And I think there might be even more at the top of the 2026 draft, which will incentivize teams to tank even more. So if the league is not doing
Yeah,
something about
that
this,
that
I think we're going to see more.
that draft is really, really deep. The top 5, top 6. Whoosh.
I agree with you. I
Yeah.
agree with you. Next year's draft is a truly, truly insane draft. And it
Yeah.
kind of sucks that our
That makes
timing is not going to work out for it because we made this Brandon Ingram trade. I mean, again, you could easily do this for 2 years, recoup some assets. Could have easily, traded OG for a very pick-centric package, traded Pascal for more of a pick-heavy package, not made this deal for Brandon Ingram, and just forced Scottie to do what he did tonight, which is go out, score 28 points on a losing team every single night, and learn to be a shot maker, right? Could have easily done that. We didn't do that. Instead, we drafted upperclassmen who are probably way closer to winning than any rookie should, right? Jonathan Mogbo, Jamal Shead, Jamison Battle, really actually impactful players. And then, you have young kids who are really hungry to improve, like Scottie and Jacoby and Grady. And, if 2 out of 3 of those guys take a step next year, not to mention Ochai, I mean, again, we seem to be in a rush to get better quickly. And I think we will. I think we'll get better quickly next year. And of course, if this whole thing blows up next year, you'll be parting out pieces for draft picks anyway, right? And shifting priorities and moving things around. But I don't think I want to be I don't think I want to be finally getting to the playoffs with Scottie for the first time when he's like 26. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's the calculation, right? We have enough to start winning,
Right.
and even you can tank. Look at teams that have tanked for years, right? They only started winning when they brought some veterans in.
Yeah.
Detroit tank for years. Even this OKC that everybody's talking about, OKC they're not winning with all their draft, right? They're traded for Shea. So
If you had to make a trade right now, this offseason starting, who are you trading and who are you trading them for? Well, who are you trading first? Like who do you want to get rid of?
IQ.
Emmanuel quickly.
Yeah.
Okay. And who would you like to trade him for? Or who would you like to trade him to? Which team do you think could actually use him?
Orlando Magic.
Okay, let's try to make this deal. So unironically, I did end up trading RJ Barrett to the Orlando Magic in my 2K rebuild, and I ended up getting 2 players back for him that I think would make most fans here very angry, but it's what I did. Okay, so what
I'm not
do you
I'm
want?
not trading RJ because I think RJ is a player made for the playoffs.
RJ?
Yes.
Hmm.
You need somebody that attacks the rim in the playoffs like persistently.
Okay. Well, I think Emmanuel quickly has some value now that he's rebuilt his analytics profile a little bit. So who would you like to trade for?
I want draft pick.
Yeah, but you need to trade for actual salary. They don't have
I'm
a lot of
looking.
salary to
They
give.
don't have
So
enough.
So here's the deal that I ended up making for RJ Barrett. I ended up making Jonathan Isaac, Goga Batase, and a pick. The reason I did
Yeah,
that is obviously Jonathan Isaac presents a great defensive upgrade for the Raptors. They don't have a player like him
and he
to
played
pair
over 65 games this season, right?
around. Yeah, he doesn't play a lot of minutes, but he's 27 years old, so there's still maybe some upside. The Raptors believe in their development staff and training staff. Maybe they can do something. His shot came a long way this year too. And for Goga Batase, he's 25 years old and, fantastic, fantastic young player. I really like him. And again, like he gives you a little bit of center depth. So you're not walking into next season banking on Ulrich to play backup center for you, right? So I just think like those
So,
two
so if you
players,
add Jonathan Isaac and Goga Batase, that you're still not going to be able to get enough money for quickly.
no. So you'll
Yeah,
have to add something else.
maybe add Gary Harris.
Yeah, but now you're running out of roster spots because you're trading
No,
3 for
it's
1.
gonna be multiple team trade, right? You ship some other teams.
There's not a lot of people jumping over themselves to grab a Gary Harris on an expiring. So I just think like it's harder to do this trade, and I don't even think you're saving that much, honestly. 15. like your outgoing is 32.5, your incoming is 30.8. Congratulations. You converted one player into three inferior players. You got worse at shooting across the board.
No, you
And
gotta give me multiple draft picks. So I'm not just doing that.
multiple draft picks. You're not getting multiple
Yeah.
draft picks. No,
Then I'm
no,
not. Then I'm keeping IQ for now.
you can keep him.
Hmm.
We don't need him. We've got Jalen Suggs. We've got Cole Anthony.
Yeah, so guys,
We got Anthony Black. Like we literally got three players who play point guard, and they're all better defenders than him.
Black can score. Anthony can defend, and Jalen Suggs is hurt.
Okay, but when healthy, Jalen Suggs is way better than Emmanuel Quickley. So like again, like you're making me a very expensive roster for no damn reason. I don't have to.
Were you gonna trade RJ?
Yeah, I mean, in 2K it worked. In 2K it worked, and I think the reason that I do this is because it makes us way better defensively. Isaac plus Goga Batase as two decent defenders coming in for one not so great defender. Obviously, longer term implications. I think RJ can be quite expensive in a few years. I don't think we have the money for him. I think this also kind of balances out your roster, puts Scottie in a position to play two, allows you to potentially play Jonathan Isaac at the four, gives you a little bit of spacing. I think Jonathan Isaac has provided like some pretty good stretches, gives you that alternate with Goga Batase to be able to stretch the floor a little bit, at least from the center position. You have Brandon Ingram. I think you should become a really big team. I think you should become huge.
Well, with RJ, right? When RJ's contract and Brandon Ingram's contract, I think they expire around the same time. I think then you would have seen BI to know to make an informed decision.
What do you mean?
Then you know if you're going to let BI go or keep RJ.
Well, what do you mean let BI go? Because I mean he's on the books for at least 2 more seasons, 100%, and then after that he has a player option, which means
And RJ is on the book for 3 more seasons, right?
Right, they expire at the same time.
At the same time, yeah. So
if BI doesn't pick up his player option, but if he's injured, he will pick up his player option.
Yeah. So I think honestly,
I mean, they lined up the contracts to hit right when Grady's extension would kick in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
I think
2 years Grady.
May 12th is one of the most important day in Raptors history because where we pick and who we're likely going to pick is going to affect a lot. If we get the number one pick, then somebody has to go.
I don't think they have to go. I mean, Cooper Flag could come in and literally like RJ could move to the bench. I don't think there's a problem with that.
But in terms of salary, then we're going over the cap right immediately, right? So it's going to end over 10 million.
But now it's worth it.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, I mean, maybe the Raptors would look at it differently because the first overall pick is a ton of money.
Yeah, they can at least let it to the trade deadline. I see how the team is doing. If they're doing well, then just go by the cap for one season.
Yeah, but then everyone knows that you're desperate to shed salary and you won't be able to. So I feel like if you get Cooper Flag, like say goodbye to pretty much any deals at all, like for Chris Boucher or whatever, anything above the minimum, that's not happening. And I think maybe there will be some cap clearing, either Ochai or Grady, probably going the other way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Someone said, when is RJ extension eligible? This summer. I'm pretty sure it's this summer. So yeah. I mean, look, you would have 3 very prominent Duke Blue Devils, 3 of the highest, ever drafted Duke Blue Devils in Brandon Ingram, RJ Barrett, plus Cooper Flag together.
1, 2, 3 pick for second, third pick.
That is true. Holy shit, that is true. So yeah, I mean, like I'm totally open to it.
Then you guys got Barnes number 4.
Right, didn't go to Duke, but yes, I see your point. And yeah, I mean, I think I could see them moving off of somebody, but it's like,
what if you get Dylan Harper? Is he going to start from day one?
I think he's perfect as a 6-man. He's the perfect 6-man. Like he can come off, he can play 1, 2, 3 off the bench. He probably, gets that precedent right. Look, man, if James Harden can come off the bench, if Manu Ginobili can come off the bench, Dylan Harper can come off the bench. Now, granted, I do think eventually he's going to usurp either RJ or, Emmanuel quickly, or probably both. But I don't think he's a better player than either one of them right now. You don't think he's walking in next year being better than RJ Barrett or Emmanuel quickly. He's not better than those players right now, but he will be, most likely. Most likely. He does have a lot of Cade in his game, which is interesting.
A lot of Cade in his game, a lot.
Right. I think he probably projects as a slightly better finisher.
You saw when he was announcing his and going into the draft. So he said he copies Cade, what's it called?
James Harden.
James Harden, yeah, and one other player.
I mean, I can see it like 100%. Like he's stealing their moves, and it's great. Like he's doing a very commendable impression, right? I have to tell you, there are a lot of times where I've flirted with my big board, and I've had come on over him a couple times. Like I've done a couple of versions of my big board, and I've put come on number 2 on my big board. And it wasn't until maybe yesterday that I saw somebody else do the same thing, and I thought, oh wow, I'm not crazy. Like I'm not the only person in the world doing this.
I've done some of my big board where I have Ace Billy over him, and I have command number 3, then him number 4.
So you put Dylan number 4?
Yeah, I've done it before on my board. But yeah, well, if you did, I think he's going number 2 though.
I think he will too. I think, jumbo creators and, facilitators are worth a lot. I think if I'm looking at this board, there's a couple players that I think could fall. I think there's a lot of guys that, maybe are mocked lottery, guys like Jeremiah Fears, guys like potentially Jace Richardson, guys like Noah Assange, guys like Asa Newell, maybe even Derek Queen, right? I mean, again, Alperen Şengün.
I think Derek
right?
Queen, if he's 6'10", he's going top 10.
Yeah, but what if he's like 6'8.5"?
Exactly. I've heard that he's likely between 6'8" and 6'9", so then it's likely gonna drop a little bit.
Right. But like every player like him fell. Every player. Jokic fell, Domas fell, Şengün fell.
They
all fell. So have we seen enough of this archetype work in the NBA for people to just be like, okay, I want to stop? Zach Randolph fell. Basically, when NBA GMs see a guy that looks kind of like pudgy, he's not pudgy at all, but like when they see a guy who has that kind of like dad bod build, they, for whatever reason, just can't see it. They can't see an NBA player. But when they see a Stanley Johnson, they jizz in their pants. And I've never completely understood it. Like what one thing has to do with the other. If you can hoop, you can hoop, right? Luka being chubby, he fell. A lot of people thought he should go number 1. He went number 3. I've literally, I can't think. That's why I think if like maybe there's a chance Con Knippel falls because someone thinks he's a little bit chubby or like a little bit.
I think it's likely gonna fall. He's somebody that likely fall. And on the flip side, right, you see another player like VJ that's athletic. Everybody wants him number 1, 2, 3, and everything. But
I think VJ would wow you in an open gym setting. I always think about it this way. Like NBA GMs have an idea about players from the analytics perspective. They understand them. They watch them in big games, etc. But when they walk into your gym, that's the big moment, right? When they walk into your gym and they look a little bit small and they look a little timid or they look a little skinny or they look a little dad body, I got to tell you, like some people start tripping over themselves a little bit. They start second guessing it. Like this, I don't know. Am I sure? No, I'm not sure. You know what I mean? I feel like when Derek Queen walks into when Derek Queen walks into a room and Kaman Malawach walks into a room, one of these guys looks way, way, way more like a basketball player.
I agree. I was just gonna talk about Kaman Malawach, right? If not for the last game, nobody would have been talking about this right now because he would have been top 4, top 5, period.
Honestly, if not for that throw up incident where he threw up all over the court and not for this last game, I think some people will be talking about him as number 2.
The throw up was because he was I know you said it in one of your lives, but I had to go research it. He drank a lot of Gatorade really fast because it was cramping up. So that's why it threw up.
Right. But you have to understand, like, from the context of the average racist American, when an African prospect throws up, there's an optics issue, right?
If he
There's
falls,
immediately
let him fall,
sort of weird
let
thing.
him fall to us. Masai is not gonna pass.
Masai will not pass on him.
Yeah.
That I'm sure of. I am positive he is. I think he's as high as 3 on our board.
I think he's number 3 on our board. I think he's number 3. I really
Yeah.
believe. I think our board is Cooper, Ace, Malawa,
No chance
Dylan.
you think Dylan Harper. You think Ace Bailey's above Dylan Harper on our board? That would be shocking.
Do you know how many times Masai went to scout him? Masai and Bobby.
They're going to scout Dylan, bro. That's what they're missing. They're missing a shot creator who can navigate the pick and roll.
It was the first game, right? Before everybody started seeing all the stuff about Ace, not the passing, the BPM and everything, right? He was projected to be the only player that could be the number 1 pick.
That was hype, man. People compare him to Kevin Durant really haven't watched Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, like, this is not a Kevin Durant, bro. I don't care what people think they say. He's not even
Kevin Durant.
close.
It doesn't have the handles.
He's not.
Yet.
He couldn't fucking tie Kevin Durant's shoes. Okay, I watched Kevin Durant at Texas. Completely different player. Totally different process. Way different rim pressure. Way better shooter. Like, what are we doing here? This is like comparing Janai Broom to fucking, Carmelo Anthony or something. Like, it is so different.
But it does. I say this, right. If Trey Johnson is 6'9", he'll go top 3.
Trey Johnson?
Yeah.
Trey Johnson ain't 6'9".
I said if.
Yeah, but Trey Johnson's a way better passer, man, and he's a way better shooter. What are we?
That's what I'm saying. If he's 6'9", right, I'll take him over Ace Bailey. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, but does it not concern you that a guy who's 6'6", who is really close in age, in fairness, to Ace Bailey, in Trey Johnson, and very similar archetype, difficult shot maker, was much better than him?
You gotta look at that. The dad is a coach, right, Trey Johnson? So
what does that have to do with anything?
That helps. It's coach's son.
I don't know, man. I think I can sell myself on the Ace. It's weird. I always obsess over lanky, long prospects who have big, long arms and shooting potential and upside. It's huge on a lot of players who fit this archetype. And yet, there's a couple. I was high on Jabari Smith. I was one of those guys who was picking him number 1. Okay, that's a bad take. Should have picked Chet. My mistake. I remain high on Jabari. Actually, I've petitioned for the Raptors to trade for him even last year.
Jabari, the team that is playing to us were first too. If he's a different team, just like what you were saying about Scottie Barnes, if Cade Cunningham had all the chance to make all the mistakes, right? If Jabari Smith went to like a quote unquote like the Wizard and everything, then would have had the chance to really develop his game instead of going to like. Look at the players that go to OKC, right? Casey Waters. If Casey Waters was in Toronto Raptors, it would have been a lot different and a better player than what he's doing today.
Bro, he's fulfilling the perfect role. He's one of the best jump shot blockers in the league. He's one of the best defenders in the league. He's incredible. And Queso's getting better every offseason with his trainer. And at some point, I'm sure they won't be able to afford him. He'll go and, like Dyson Daniels, he'll blossom and people will be like, oh, this guy's an all-star. Right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean he's not developing. It just means that's his role right now. It's the same thing with Isaiah Joe. Isaiah Joe could start on a lot of teams. Like, we watched Jalen Williams, J Will, not J Dub, literally have 3 back-to-back triple-doubles. Did you see that? Every time he starts, triple-double. That's a player that's sometimes out of their rotation. Like, that's how good that team is at scouting, developing, and finding players. So people don't realize that sometimes when you really are like surrounded by good defenders, you can look way better than you are offensively, i.e. Pascal Siakam 3 years ago. Not super efficient, very undynamic as a passer, but look at the numbers: 25, 7, 6, whatever. And people are like, oh, MVP, all-star. He's just like Jason Tatum. No, he ain't. Because if I put them both in the same context, there's a qualitative gap between these two players and how they generate space and how they get their points. So it's such a different thing. But when you're surrounded by defense, it's very easy to prop up bad offense. Fred VanVleet is another example. Terrible offensive player, terribly inefficient. Analytics love him. If I compare this year, last year, or the year before, Fred VanVleet is nowhere close to Jeff Doughton as a shooter, as an overall offensive player. Jeff is way more efficient on all three levels. He's bigger, but Fred has the better analytics. He has the better numbers. He has the bigger contract. Jeff can barely hang on in the league. Like, again, it's so weird for like the volume elements, obviously on Fred's side, minutes, whatever, pedigree,
Do you think
championship.
Fred is gonna get that player and team option?
No, fuck no, man.
But I think
No, 42 million?
They're gonna bring him back.
Hell no.
They're gonna for a different contract.
I think there's gonna be a quick like 2-year extension, probably 40 million.
Yeah,
$40 million. Be like, hey, we're gonna split this across 2 years. You're not
having the
worst fucking year of your life. I think he damn well knows that he's going to be a free agent this summer, and I think they probably already told him what his deal is going to be, so he's not going out trying to hunt for a contract. And everything is just coming down to success for organization. But I don't think it's a surprise to say that Reed Shepherd has struggled mightily to crack a role in that rotation, because Fred looking at him the same way he was looking at Scottie, same way he was looking at Malachi, like this guy coming from my spot. If Reed Shepherd pops off this year, how likely is Fred VanVleet to be homeless next year?
Mm-hmm.
He's signing fucking $6 million, $8 million deals somewhere else. There's always that, you don't want to piss where you don't want to piss where you eat. So I think he knows like Houston is probably his best bet to get like a lot of money, 20 million, 25 million a year. I don't think that's even like remotely fair value for what he provides at this point. I'm not even trying to shit talk. Like at 32, 31, whatever the fuck he is, I wouldn't pay him more than $15 million.
Will you bring in this guy, Chris Paul, as a backup point guard?
I don't think so. No. I mean, like, I get it, but like he wants to play right now, and I don't want him playing over Jamal Shead. Why? Like, I know he would teach guys and he would help guys, and he's fantastic, but he's a very, very, very dominant personality, extremely strong personality. And I don't really need that around Scottie right now. What I need is for Scottie to be the dominant personality. I think we've already had the veteran leaders, the mentors, whatever. I think you need someone to shine a little bit less at this point.
Will you bring Gary Temple back?
I don't think I would.
I don't think I would, except he's coming as an assistant coach.
Yeah, like that's what I would say to him. Like, look, man, you washed as hell at this point. Like, you're not a good NBA player at this point. We need to actually like win basketball games next year.
And we need that.
Bring you on as assistant coach. You can happily play with the team, special teams, maybe even become an assistant coach in the G League level. Help us, develop. Maybe we'll promote you to elite assistant someday, right? Like, he seems like a great guy. Seems like a really solid voice.
Front office.
Yeah. Sparkling saying, would you have Lowry at the end of the bench? Now that would be cool. Yeah, I would definitely do that. I would definitely look at Kyle Lowry as a third string point guard. I
agree.
Because Lowry is still serviceable. Like, I mean,
he'll mentor the players.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I think I've really started to notice how our environment shapes us, but also the expectations of our peers can sometimes shape us. Like, we want Scottie to step up into a leadership role, but then we want to put people in his way who are clearly better leaders right now. And so naturally, as a team first guy, he's going to gravitate towards them. I think when you strip away the shot makers, the scorers, you see games like the last 2 games where he just looks around and he's like, okay, either I'm passing to Colin Castleton or Garrett Temple, Jamal Shead, Jonathan Mogbo. Like, I have to go do this myself, or we're going to get blown up by 30. You know what I mean? Like, so I feel like if you had put him in those situations earlier, maybe as a second year, third year, maybe he would have developed a much, much greater understanding of himself as a scorer. Now, the other thing I'll say, and this is like super important because I was thinking about this a lot the other day. I was like, so much, and I don't know if you agree with this, so much of doing is believing and seeing before you do. Like, if you want to start a business, you need to close your eyes and imagine you've already started it and what that feels like. And sometimes I think for young players, there's this like breakthrough moment where you hit a big game winner or you have a big 30, 40 point game and you just change your expectation of what you thought was possible. And so it doesn't really matter the context in which it happens or who it happens against. Obviously, if it happens in the playoffs against a really good team, it's even more so. But I think Scottie has plenty of evidence at this point that he could be like a mega scorer in the NBA. Like he could average 25 points per game. I think he has plenty of evidence where he's put up 14, 15, 18 points in the fourth quarter, where he's had games like 30, 32 points as a rookie against LeBron, 35 points today, 35 points in December. Like he's had plenty of these types of games. He's never had like a flurry 50-point game or whatever. He had that game against San Antonio last year where he stormed us back in the second half. He's had these long scoring stretches. And so, sort of seeing yourself as a scorer, seeing yourself as a bucket getter, seeing yourself as a guy that is supposed to be relied on to score 25, I think that's very, very important for him.
Yeah, but I think that is not his personality. And this is year 4, right? I don't think that's ever going to be his personality. That's why I'm glad you have Brandon Ingram there, another scorer, so that that is okay. If you, I was watching this documentary about Jokic, right? He had that same Scotty-like stuff going up in Europe, and
Yep.
they literally had to force him to start like scoring.
Yeah.
Because yes, but and I don't know if you can do that with Scotty in year 5, because
Why?
and today's game, I'm glad like today's game,
Who's
right?
a good scorer for you? Like, give me a list of 3 like scorers that you think are like pure scorers that Scottie can't mirror. NBA history or even current NBA. I just want to see like which 3 players you pick.
Jason Tatum, Davion Mitchell, and
Donovan Mitchell.
Donovan Mitchell, yeah.
I thought you said Davion Mitchell. I nearly
No,
lost
not
my
Davion
mind.
Mitchell, sorry.
Okay,
Jason Tatum, Donovan Mitchell, I'll go with Luca.
Luca is crazy. Okay, so Tatum, Luca, Mitchell. That's a high bar. Those are some guys who easily can clip 30 points per game. Okay,
Yeah.
so
But you said that's a high bar, right?
it is a high
Scotty can
bar.
score 30 points a game if he wants to. He can be a 30-point scorer. Like, I think he should stop settling for 3-pointers, and because it does really well. The mid range really came along this year. He can do bully ball. Like the last few games, right? When Scotty has the ball and he wants to score, he scores. And sometimes you look at the shot clock, right? When the shot clock is like 9 seconds and he doesn't have any option but to go try and score, he goes in and he scores. But most of the time, he loves to pass too much. I think he needs to be he needs to be selfish.
I agree. So as a scorer, obviously, like he's never going to touch
Like
Luca.
look at what he did today, right? Look at what he did. There's no ROG, there's no Quickly, right? There's no
Sure.
Yakapodo. So now, and I really like like you said next year, right? If somebody has to go to the bench, it's ROG, because ROG plays very, very well with the bench players. Scotty wasn't doing well with the bench player until towards the last few games, right? When you don't have ROG, you don't have, and today it was really evident the way he started, the way we really play with the bench, right? Distributing the ball, scoring when he has to, then when they put him back and things like that. That's why it's got what he did today can do that every single game. How many 3-pointers did he take today? 1 or 2? He
2.
was scoring the paint, the mid range, everything. That's what I want from him next year.
So as a scorer, so Luca on his career versus Scottie the last 2 years, the gap per 100 possessions is 27.7 versus 40. That's huge. That's a huge gap. Okay. But it's not like it's not a scalable gap. It's not like Scottie's ever going to get to 40 points per 100 possessions, at least that I can think of. But I
He,
think he could, but
but
I think he can get
he
to
has the
34.
talent. He has the talent to do it. That's the point. He has the
Sure,
talent.
yeah.
There's nothing Giannis can do that Scotty can do if he has like
I
Giannis
disagree.
plays.
I disagree completely. Like, but I mean, like, okay, like if we looked at Giannis, because so Giannis is a mega scorer now, right? Like we can agree on that.
Mhm.
So, but if we look at Giannis year 3 and 4 and Scottie year 3 and 4, I think we'll get like similar numbers on the scoring side, similar-ish. right?
Mm-hmm.
So per 100 possessions, Giannis was averaging 28.6. Scottie's averaging 27.7. Rebounds, Giannis 11.8. Scottie 11.3. Assists, Giannis 7. Scottie 8.4. Assists, Giannis 2. Scottie 1.9. It's very similar. The difference, of
Exactly.
course, is 2-point percentage. Okay, very much in favor of Giannis, 55 versus 52. But that's not a big gap, okay? It's not a huge gap. And I'm comparing him to a player that most people by year 4 considered like a superstar in the making. By year 4.
Yeah.
But he came in
But
a little, they both came in really raw. Like, I don't know why. Like, so if
But
Scottie
Giannis scores most of his points
great
with the
ball.
free throw too. Scottie needs to have, like, if Scottie can go to the free throw line, man, like easy basket, like 7 or 8 times a game, right? See everybody complaining about Shea that she scores 9 points every game from free throw. Scottie can do that because
Well, that's the gap, man. Like I'm telling you that these guys are separated by 1 point. Do you know how many free throw attempts Giannis got? More
exactly,
than Scottie. He got almost a 3% more. So the free throw rate,
exactly my point.
yes. So the free throw rate between these two players is ridiculously different. So let me see. What's the advanced rate? Free throw rate. Where the hell is it? Yeah, it's 9.2 versus 6.3 per 100 possessions, and Scottie shoots it better. But like Scottie shoots it better from 3. Scottie takes way more threes. Scottie takes 3 times as many threes. So people complaining about Scottie's threes, Scottie shoots it 4% better and takes 3 times more. Like
Okay, look
there
at
is
it.
a world in which he
Look
is
at
as
today.
good.
Scottie scored 35 points, right? On
Mhm.
only 4 free throws. 4.
Fair, but I think he should have gotten at least 8.
Yeah, if he's getting a 8 or 9, right? Those are easy points, right? That
He
bumps
gets
him up to
40.
like 27. Exactly.
40 points, easy.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I know everybody wants him to shoot three, but I don't want him to be settling. Like, punish people in the paint, punish them. He
Yeah,
has the strength. He bully ball. He has the strength.
yeah. Lachlan Quinn saying I see
I, I
more of
lo-
a passing Jimmy Butler. I think that's a fair comparison.
exactly. I love that comparison. Look at what happened to Golden State with the Jimmy Butler trade, right? They were the worst team in free throw shooting before the trade. They moved to the best team after the trade.
So what's interesting is Lachlan said he sees more of a passing Jimmy Butler. I do want to point out Jimmy was a little bit older in his rookie season than Scottie Barnes, and I'll guarantee you Scottie scores more. Hang on, I will prove it.
He
So
didn't
per
play.
100 possessions,
He didn't play in his rookie season. He was mainly on the bench. So maybe look at year 2.
irrelevant because per 100 possessions, it doesn't matter. I'm evening it out. I'm talking about as scores. Scottie scores 24.4 through his first 4 years. Jimmy scored 20.8. Scottie grabs 10.6 rebounds. Jimmy grabs 7.6. Scottie dishes 7 assists per 100 possessions. Jimmy's dishing 3.6. If you want me to change the criteria to just Jimmy's third and fourth years, so let's
Yeah.
go Jimmy year 3, year 4 versus Scottie year 3. I'll guarantee you Scottie still clears. Hang on, watch this. I haven't even looked at these numbers, and I'll guarantee you it's still. Scottie 27.7 points. Jimmy 22.4. Scottie 3 boxes minus. Jimmy 2.8. Scottie
Yeah.
8.4 assists.
Scotty clears, right? But imagine Scotty has more free throws. Then it's a different ball game. Then it will be like 9 versus day.
Sure, sure. But I'm saying like, look, in Jimmy Butler by year 4, we were talking about pretty much like an all-star caliber player by year 4, right? He grew into it. Whether we're talking Jimmy, whether we're talking Kawhi, whether we're talking whatever, we're talking, even if we're talking Paul George, right? If I do these numbers compared to Paul George, like I'm just curious. Like I'm sort of spitting at this point. So let me just try it with Paul George. Okay. So I'm just curious because I mean, look, they're all big wings. They're all guys who had a lot of offensive holes. So I want to look at Paul George year 3, year 4. We can agree Paul George was a bucket, right? Paul George is a guy who could average 30, whatever. So again, per 100 possessions. What do you know? Scottie Barnes 27.7, Paul George 27.9. Scottie shoots it better from the field. And I'm just looking at year 3, year 4, by the way, guys. I'm not looking at the rookie season because Scottie clears that too. Assists, rebounds, everything in Scottie's favor here. Box plus minus slightly in Paul George's favor, in fairness. Value of replacement also in Paul George's favor. Win shares majorly in Paul George's favor. Health in Paul George's favor. Paul George was probably the better player year 3 or 4. But I'm just saying, in terms of scoring, that's the thing that people always focus on. He can never be a number one. He can never be a number one. Where was this energy for Paul George, who was averaging just as many points as Scottie? Like, and if people say, but point, you know, it's hypothetical. Your per 100 is hypothetical. Okay, then just look at per game. 19.4 versus 19.6. It's the same fucking thing. 16. Oh my God. 16 field goal attempts versus 16 field goal attempts. Like, what are we doing here? 4.4 free throw attempts versus 4.6. I'm not talking per 100, by the way. I'm just talking straight numbers. These are just per game.
But year 4 was for George Demani now, Indiana.
Bro, Paul George was a 2-time All-NBA, 2-time All-Defense, and 2-time All-Star by year 4. Just so we're clear. Paul George in year 3, year 4 was a fucking demon. Okay? So this is who we're talking about, and I'm saying his numbers are damn close. They were different eras. That's why we're using per 100 possessions, my man, because that's how we're comparing between eras. Unless you're going to tell me Paul George went up against way harder competition, which ain't true. If you're going to tell me Paul George had worse teammates, ain't true. He had way more help and way better teammates. Don't even get me started on how good that Indiana team was in his 3rd year. Much better. They won more. They had better coaching. They had more stability. They had fewer young players. He had Danny Granger still. Yo, he had good teams. He had good teams in year 3 or 4. They were like borderline contenders. So, like, let's not kid about who had the harder job. I'm just saying, again, for anyone who's saying like Scottie can never be a number 1, he has to be a number 3, number 4. People compare him to Aaron Gordon and Draymond Green. Like, what are we doing here? Aaron Gordon and Draymond Green? This is crazy. Like, do we even understand how many points Draymond Green like has scored in that stretch of a season? Like, to give you like an idea of how far apart these players are in terms of scoring rates, Draymond averages 18.8 per 100 possessions in year 3, year 4. Scottie's averaging 27.7. Like, this is not even close. The only thing that's close about Draymond and Scottie is they're both really good defenders who are wing-sized, who average over 8 assists per 100 possessions. That's it. Draymond's a better defender. He's a better rebounder. He's more ground-bound. Scottie's a way better athlete. Scottie's a way better three-point shooter. But Draymond actually, weirdly enough, shot 35% from 3. Wow, 36% from 3. So Draymond is the better three-point shooter. There you go. Wide open. I don't know, man. I reject this notion that people are super low on his load and they say like, oh, well, he'll never be a big time scorer. It's like, bro, like he is as big time a scorer at this point in his career as Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Giannis Antetokounmpo, basically any player that you would have been very, very happy if I was comparing them to that player. And the player that he was compared to, players like Aaron Gordon, Draymond Green, he has massively skipped them as scorers. And games like tonight, I don't think they're anomalies. I think like this is legit. Like I think he can do this. Yeah. I don't know. Anyways, F.A., any final thoughts, man?
Well, I want to see the end of season post game tomorrow. End of season wrap up tomorrow, and I think
Is
it'll
it
be
happening
important
tomorrow for sure? You're sure?
I think yeah. Mm-hmm.
Damn, I'm gonna be on the panel tomorrow. I don't know if it's happening in the morning, but yeah, I'm very curious to do that too.
Yeah, I want to hear what they say. I think it's going to be really important. Then what Masai or Bobby says the next day, or the coach that's going to be telling. So let's wait for May 2nd and enjoy. In the interim, enjoy the playoffs.
Yeah, I'll be looking forward to seeing if they include RJ as part of the future talk. I'm
Bobby.
also curious how much they talk about. I'm also curious how much they talk about Grady.
Bobby included RJ in future talks. Talked about Scottie leading the team with RJ, IQ.
No, I heard that in terms of theoretically how they plan to play. But you do remember there was that entire year where they never talked about Gary Trent. It's like, you remember that? They almost like forgot Gary Trent existed. And then we saw Gary Trent get a minimum contract with the Bucks as the Raptors chose not to match, and kind of gave you an idea. This is how they feel about Gary Trent. So I feel like it's been similar with Emmanuel Quickley. I feel like there's a lot of institutional like love for this guy internally between Darko, Masai, Bobby. I think they like really like him, whether it be as a person, whether that be as an archetype. I think they have a lot of belief in him as, this perfect fit with Scottie and BI. I don't know how they feel about RJ. I could feel like they have affection towards Jakob as well, but I also believe like they could probably think to themselves, "Hey, center who doesn't shoot, should we look somewhere else? Could we get Naz Reid? Could that be what we do?" I also would not rule out them trading the 7th pick. I wouldn't rule it out. I wouldn't rule it out at all. What could a package centered around 7 plus Grady plus RJ actually get you? Could it get you Devin Booker?
I think the 7th pick they're gonna trade. If the players they want are not there, they either trade down or trade out completely.
Would you? Okay, here's a question for you. Would you trade Grady plus RJ plus 7th overall for Devin Booker?
Phoenix is not gonna do it. If they do it, yes.
He's
Depends on
28. He's 28.
Depends on who is there. Depends on who is there.
Because that would make you very, very expensive. But you are taking $8 million off the books. You're taking RJ's 27 plus 8 plus 8. No, I don't think you can afford it. I think. Okay, would you do RJ plus IQ plus 7th overall?
No.
Really?
Depends on who is at the 7th pick too, right?
So this is you telling me that you value Emmanuel Quickley more than Grady Dick? Because I don't.
I don't, but I don't.
As an asset, I mean, as a player, he's better than Grady Dick. He's way, way, way better than Grady Dick. I get that, but like as an asset, I don't know how much better he is than Grady Dick. As a 32, like if I'm Phoenix, I'm getting 2, 3 really, really good young pieces to build, rebuild around. And I'm kind of getting the redundancy of Bradley Beal plus Devin Booker out of the way. And I'm getting depth. Like, I feel like this is a fantastic move for them.
I read somewhere that Bradley Beal is not coming back no matter what.
What do you mean not coming back? He's got a no trade clause.
They're going to waive him.
Oh, shit. Okay. Well, I mean, Matt Ishbia is weird. Like, he'll do that. Did you catch the quote where he said 26 teams would change places with us? I thought I was reading NBA Centel. What? 26 teams would trade places with you? I don't believe that.
That was last year, right before this debacle.
Oh, really? Oh, my bad. I thought that was this year.
No, that was last
honestly,
year.
Even last year, I wouldn't have traded places with them. That's delusional. Whether it was this year, last year, or the year before, they've never had that kind of roster. Yeah. Anyways, all right, man.
All right. Thanks,
I'll
man.
talk to you later. Have a good one. Peace. Okay. Let's see here. Oh, never mind. I am not on the panel tomorrow. I'm not on Monday. Cool. Okay, that works out for me. That's perfect. I would prefer to be able to live stream the end of year pressers, and I presume it's tomorrow. I would hope. I don't know why they would delay it. I'm sure they don't have anything to think about. It's not like the trade deadline where there's that. May 12th is going to be a huge deal for us. It is less than a month away. We're at April 13th. May 12th is less than a month away. I would like to do more detailed breakdowns on prospects that I've actually scouted. I still have Noah Assange, Nolan Traore, and Asa Newell. And I have like 2 more that I would like to do the deeper work on. Who's my 4th, 5th? Hold on, I need to pull up my hang on. So I'm done with Cooper. I'm done with Dylan. I'm done with Ace. I'm done with VJ. I'm done with Trey Johnson. I'm done with Jeremiah Fears. I'm done with Con Knipple, Colin Murray Boyles, Derek Queen, Kaman Malawach. I am done with Carter Bryant. I have not completed Kasparis Yakuchonis. So that's 1. Interestingly enough, Ace Newell, that's 2. Jace Richardson, that's 3. Noah Assange, that's 4. Nolan Traore, that's 5. It's been kind of hard to find footage, to be honest. Hugo Gonzalez, that's 6. Rasheer Fleming, that's 7. Nick Clifford, that's 8. I'm done with Thomas Sorber. Noah Penda, that's 9. Danny Wolf, that's 10. And LeBaron Philon, that's 11. So in terms of first round board, those are the players that I still have to do. Everybody else is done. I have really, really solid opinions about them. I have a good feel for these players. I do want to mention something really interesting here. Check this out. So you know how like I've been getting really, really high on Carter Bryant? Look where these guys have Carter Bryant. Now they're calling him TJ Warren plus. I don't see that at all. The only reason they would say this is because probably they're looking at the parallel between low assist percentage. I don't think that that's who he's going to be at all. I think he's just got so much more defensively. But it is interesting to see Carter Bryant being mocked as 12th. And I'll tell you right now, when teams get this kid into the gym, mark my words, I said it about Dwayne Wade when I watched him at Marquette. I said it about Dyson Daniels when I saw him at the G League Ignite. I said it about Scottie Barnes when I saw him, working out. I'm telling you, there's certain players that rise every single year. If you remember, I was talking about Scottie Barnes. No. Kaman Malawach was ranked as the 14th or 15th by most mock drafts, and I was consistently putting him number 5. Do you remember that? Because I sure do, right? Even last year, right, when stock got really low on Yves Missi, or Yves Missi was being mocked all the way in the second round, etc. I was very high on him, and I remained high on him through the process. Jonathan Mogbo, I identified him as a player that the Raptors should pick up in the undrafted heap, and then he shot up draft boards, and I remained very, very high on him, and then put him in like my top 25. So again, there's certain prospects you get a really good feel for. You watch a lot of them, you read a lot about them. If I'm lucky enough to know somebody who's played with that player, that usually helps tremendously. Tremendously. It helps so much with Jonathan Mogbo to actually be able to talk to people who've played with him. Sometimes you get a little different perspective. Like there's a player that you really, really like, and you start talking about that player, and then you hear a story about them in practice, and you hear that they have really bad work ethic in practice, but it's never going to come out until it's too late. And then you feel a little bit differently, or sometimes, you have a friend who plays D1 basketball, or at least has played D1 basketball for the last, 3 years. And they'll tell you like, yeah, we faced this guy. We didn't have any solution. He was really nice after the game, or something like that. You get these sort of firsthand encounters, and that really helps too. So again, listening to their parents, listening to coaches, etc. I've mentioned this before. Like this stuff really matters, because in the end, there's no player that you're going to draft before meeting them face to face, sitting across from them, grabbing a beer, grabbing a wine, drinking, having a meal, talking to them, asking them a series of questions, doing some aptitude testing. And you get a feeling based on history what works and what doesn't for certain people. Different strokes for different folks. Obviously, there's going to be certain people that are going to gravitate towards certain personality traits, and there are certain people who have shown a tendency to never go for certain personality traits. The Raptors like winners. The Raptors like humble people. The Raptors like faith-based players who have, good family support systems, and generally good support systems, who come from strong basketball identity. Like whether their parents played basketball with Grady, it was like his mom played basketball. There's elements of that, right? You start to look for parallels. What appealed them about this prospect? You can look at analytics profiles. You can look at, athleticism profiles. History shows that teams don't deviate too greatly. Now, obviously, have to factor in that Darko is a really, really big part of how the Raptors draft and how the Raptors play and how the Raptors develop. And so, yeah, his introduction has thrown a monkey wrench into my fortune-telling ways of being able to predict Pascal, Scottie, Christian Coloco, etc. It was much easier before Darko got here to predict what the Raptors were going to do. And so, I'm inclined to say the most Darko-y prospects in this draft are probably Derek Queen, Con Knipple, Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper, Kasparas Yakuchonis, Jaeger Demon. Those are probably the most Darko prospects in this draft. The most Masai prospect is probably Carter Bryant, Ace Bailey, Cooper Flagg, Rasheer Fleming, Kaman Malawach, right? Melded together in the prospects that everyone can probably agree on, probably Carter Bryant, probably Kaman Malawach. I think these are two players that this front office can probably agree on. I haven't seen them go for twitchy, athleticism kind of guards, downhill attackers like Jeremiah Fears. I suspect they won't start now, but they could. They could. You don't have a young guard on your roster. Jamal Shead's 23, right? Emmanuel Quickley's 25. Having Jeremiah Fears learn under two absolutely awesome point guards and sort of figure out the game under Jamal Shead would be really helpful for him. I think this would be a beautiful situation, be a blessed situation for him. And also, he has a size that he can actually play backcourt with those guys. Long term, Jeremiah Fears plus Scottie Barnes equals fucking awesome. If he works out, it's hard to find three better pairings offensively for Scottie Barnes than Jeremiah Fears. A great shooter. Yeah, not a great shooter. He could become a good shooter. I certainly give him a better chance of becoming a good shooter than I did Russell Westbrook at the same time. I don't think he's the athlete Russell Westbrook is, but he's a solid athlete. So, yeah, I mean, Malawach just makes so much sense because, it's just like, okay, we shore up the defense, we get the lob threat, we get shooting potential. He's 7'2". How bad could it be? Right? But the more you think about it, the more you realize, are you willing to pass up on the next Paul George for Kaman Malawach? Again, you may be willing to pass up on Carter Bryant for Kaman Malawach, but are you willing to pass up on the next OG Anunoby for the next? I mean, let's just say he becomes advanced. Let's say he becomes an advanced version of everything Donovan Clingan is, right? Are you willing to pass up on OG Anunoby meets Herb Jones for that? Because that might be what Colin Murray Boyles with a jump shot looks like. Are you willing to pass up on Jalen Johnson for that? Because that might just be what Carter Bryant becomes. You have to be a little bit more nuanced about this. I do think there's a world in which the Raptors fall backwards a little bit. We've looked at the draft odds. We've looked at, what the odds are for each pick. And the most likely outcome for the Raptors is they fall back to 8. That is the most likely outcome, which is why you wanted 7, so that your most likely outcome was 8. But you retain a sizable, like a 30+% chance of moving into the top 4. And look, I did the draft lottery in NBA 2K. I got to tell you, almost every single time the Raptors move up. Maybe that's a good sign. Maybe it's a good sign, right? So I cannot imagine that the Raptors will take a look. Like, maybe they're not super, super thrilled with Carter Bryant, but if they work him out, if they meet him, if they talk to him, they will fall in love with this kid. I'll guarantee it. All right. I'm talking Darko. I'm talking Masai. I'm talking all of them. They will love this kid. So wherever he goes in the draft, I'm going to be looking for him. I'm going to be rooting for him. And I'm going to bookmark this video for when Carter Bryant becomes a really damn good player. And I'm going to be able to say that I told you so. Then this live is still going. It is going. All right. Salute to all the people who chimed in. Do we have any super chats? We do not have a super chat today. However, I do want to point something out. There's a free screening of Copenhagen, a brilliant film by Mark Russell, one of the best Canadian films of all time, if you ask me. One of the best debut features that I've ever seen. And honestly, the film that really, really inspired me to start making films myself. It is screening April 16th. That is in 3 days, 7 o'clock, Wednesday. No playoffs, no basketball, no conflict. Come check it out at the Carlton Cinema, 7 o'clock. I'll be there. Will you be there? Definitely come check it out. Link in the bio. Free tickets. Do not get tickets if you're not intending to come. Seats are limited. But if you want to come, it's a great date night, free, on the house. Definitely come check it out. It's a great film. It's about a young, arrogant American who goes to Denmark to find out about his grandfather and his father, because his father's passed away. and he wants to learn a little bit about where he's from. I think we can all identify with that. I think I've met a lot of Greek people, Italian people who've never ever been to Greece or Italy. It's a very universal story. And along the way, he meets a girl who he falls in love with, who becomes a bit of his tour guide. And it comes with a bit of a twist. So it's a fantastic film. It's a great indie film. It was on Netflix for a long time. And it is, it's never screened in as part of Canadian Film Day. Each year, Canada Film Day does a special screening with various partners across the country. And I can tell you on record, this film, there are so many films that screen over and over. The Xavier Dolan films, the early works of certain filmmakers. There's just certain films that are just like, okay, that is going to screen as part of Canada Film Day probably 3 times. Copenhagen is never screened as part of Canada Film Day. So this will be a first, and you will see it. And this is the first time it's been in theaters in almost 11 years. So there you go. It won Grand Jury Prize at Gasparilla and Florida Film Festival, and it won the Audience Award at the Slam Dance Film Festival. It is a fantastic film. You will love it. And, it might just change you a little bit. It certainly changed me a lot. I'm going to be honest. It changed me a lot. It reminded me about where I come from. It reminded me of, this paranoid fear I had of becoming just like my parents. It is really about, parents and children. It is about wanting to grow up. It's about, wanting to grow down. It's about an adolescent who's too adult and an adult who's too adolescent. Like, it's a very interesting, yeah. Jokic is getting a 3-year extension. Damn. Yeah. See you on tomorrow on PC Pen. Can't wait. I don't think I'll be on tomorrow. I think I'll be on Tuesday, Thursday this week. I will double check with Ron to see if I am on. Hang on. Tuesday and Friday, not Tuesday and Thursday. So Tuesday and Friday this week. So I think I'm on Tuesday and Friday. So we'll see. All right. I don't think they want to have me on tomorrow because Scottie Barnes just dropped 35 points and they know I spent half the episode talking about it. So there's I claim this is censorship. It's a censorship to not get me talking about Scottie. All right. I'll talk to y'all later. Have a great day. And that's game 82. We're done. We talk about draft. We'll talk about free agency. I have a feeling it's going to be a really, really good summer. What stocks are you buying tomorrow, Rob? This is not a financial advice channel, but appreciate you asking. Peace.